Third and goal. Bohannon to Smith. Up the gut, and he's in. Touchdown. Touchdown, Abram Smith. Baylor back in front.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Prescott trying to take advantage. Going deep. Cooper. Oh! One-hander! Are you kidding me?
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Mackenzie Milton to pass. Welcome back to college football. Mackenzie Milton.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
There's room up the middle. Jefferson takes off. He's to the 20, to the 10. Open field. Touchdown. KJ Jefferson. And just like that, Arkansas is on the board 6-0.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Wednesday afternoon. Sikkim 365 Radio, online, Sikkim 365 app, Facebook, Twitter. I still think we are under Periscope. Is that correct at times? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, of course, YouTube that has exploded with nearly 11,000 of you who have subscribed with us. If you haven't, please do. Like us, chat rooms going already before I even got on it today on many things going on with college football. We're going to have a little note later on today about the Ryder Cup and some questions from you late last night or early this morning on the text line on your team or realignment. We do know this. Cincinnati has officially submitted their request to join the Big 12. This is no longer a pulse. This is no longer speculation or rumor. We know that because we even talked to you about this Thursday and Friday with UCF and the University of Houston, Brigham Young, and Cincinnati. The Bearcats are in the top 10 right now in college football. I'll try to explain some things to you if I can about where we are, where the Big 12 is, how they got here or there, and really trying to break down some of the money. Because a lot of you like, it sounds great, how much are we going to make? Because there was a chance it would be nuked, right? So we'll try to get a little bit into that on estimations of what all this might mean to the teams that will be a part of the Big 12. Mack Rhoades is expected to join us, though, at 3:30, the Baylor athletic director. However, I believe that the ADs and presidents and others, even those who might be a part of the new list of 4, I don't know for sure, but I got a feeling they've been talking today. I think they might have even had Zoom meetings or conference calls or whatever. So waiting to hear confirmation on when we'll have Mack Rhoades, Baylor's athletic director, on what is going on. Other ADs have spoken. Kirby Hocutt talks all the time. And we've heard from Jamie Pollard. So hopefully Mack Rhoades will be available. Now, one of the things that created the concern was not only being left behind, but the money, the financial part of it as well. There is, from what I'm being told, that Bob Bowlesby feels, and there seems to be, because of whatever they're kind of trying to do with ESPN or whatever they can do with ESPN, et cetera, that the money, the television money, which is for the Big Ten and the SEC massive, is in the neighborhood of somewhere between $22 and $25 million. That would be distributed to each of the 12 teams. I get the question, does that mean now? No, because no one's joining right now. And there's still the question of what is the timeline with Texas and Oklahoma, and how does that affect things? And do they have voting rights or not, grant of rights, whatever that means. Hopefully get answers from Mack Rhoades on that. So you're still looking at what is a lot more than what people thought could be, where you're left with 8 or 10 million, which is what a lot of group of 5 teams have now. Brigham Young has their own network. You ever heard of that before?
Yeah, Baylor played on it.
Yeah.
It's been 9 years ago or so, but yeah.
And I talked to Jake Hatch, who covers Brigham Young, and he was telling me that the West Coast Conference, during their basketball tournament, they play a lot of the conference games are aired on the Brigham Young network. They make money. Kansas has their, again, they make about $7 million with whatever their regional network is. We know Texas has $15 million a year, and Oklahoma has their regional network. But on average, the Tier 3 money's around $15 million for most of the remaining 8, give or take $1 million or $2 million. Then you have the college basketball tournament. You have units that each conference can earn. Baylor, of course, winning it all. That's 6 units right there, among others. There is as well a lot of the Tier 3 money that sometimes we don't add to the picture. Logos, branding, corporate sponsors, all of that. And so about $15 million. So if you got to $24 million, minus 10% off the top that goes to the conference office, that's $22 million, $21 million, $15 million if you're at Tier 3 normal. And then on top of that, there's a couple of other million here and there. And you're really not in bad shape. Are you Big Ten, SEC? You never will be. But what's the reason for bringing in 4 now? If you drop below 10, if Texas and Oklahoma were to leave, you're out of the college football playoff discussion, and you cannot have a conference championship game. Remember, they had the petition to get one with 10 teams. So you can imagine what happens if there's 8. So that's why 4. But here's one of the kickers today. There is not just 1 or 2 people, but there is some interest among those who are trying to make the decisions in the Big 12 on expansion to jump straight to 14 teams. Not 4, but 6. And if you were to go 5 and 6, the 2 teams you hear the most, this is from due diligence, is Memphis and also Boise State. That doesn't mean they're in, but if in fact they were to go a couple of more deep. I said that yesterday, but I'm now hearing that there's even interest in going straight from whatever they're going to add, go straight to adding 6. At least there's a push there. Doesn't mean that will happen.
Well, I mean, it didn't take that long to get to the 4, really, when you think about from, July 19th or whenever, doomsday was to now. It's only been about 6-7 weeks. So they got to 4 pretty quickly. So if you told Boise State and Memphis, get your applications ready and let's talk, I'm pretty sure that those schools could, dust off the old apps from a few years ago, update them, and get in. So, yeah, if you want to do that, especially if the network partners that you're talking to, which clearly they have to be, are saying, go to 14, we'll make it worth your while. It's worth your while to go to 14.
Now, you got to be careful. The more you add, the more that is eaten away at the overall pie. They do have right now, as we know, Craig Smoak, the 24-25 grant of rights with what they're getting paid right now. And you wonder how eventually that's all rolled into one or however they do that. But, if you really look at it just a week or 2 ago, there was still this kind of uncertainty. Now it's not are they going to expand, it's how many are they going to add to the picture. And you're not going to just try to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall. There's a lot of work being done. And some of the teams that are being added and others who are interested are also told this. There's going to be ways in which you get your money, but you also need to show us your donor interest, and that they're going to have to get heavily involved as well to keep up with the Joneses as much as we possibly can, and the 8 remaining teams as well.
I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, you're telling us. I mean, I'm just listening here. I don't really have anything to add because you're the one that's got the info right there. But yeah, I mean, this all sounds very interesting, and I keep going. I mean, this is the information, not what I have to add to it.
Now, there's a lot of questions, and what happens is there's a rug. Okay, what color is the rug? What kind of rug? Is it a shag rug, which back in the day? Is it how long? How big? So when I try to give you information, the first thing I get, which is because you care, is, well, then there's a question on what I'm telling you. I'm trying to learn that myself along the way. I do know this, is that if we can get Mack Rhoades on the show at some point, no matter who we have lined up today, and we do have some guests lined up, former Baylor offensive lineman Spencer Drango today at 4 o'clock. We got one of the great college football writers, Arkansas Democrat Gazette columnist Wally Hall on Arkansas. They play Texas this week. So there's a lot of that to get to today, and we will. And also the chat room, also the number 254-339-1122. So it's coming fast. And the good news is that what everyone has to be careful of, and yes, I'm getting my information along with whoever else is reporting some of this, but we've tried to not be ahead of the curve. We've tried to do it methodically to give you information about not just why those 4 were named on Friday. We gave you the 4 and why not the others. And we'll continue to try to do that along the way. 254-339-1122. That's the text, that's the call, and that's much more. And so right now, it's kind of, man, you got to be careful if you're involved in any of this in trying to make this happen. Now, I saw somebody that said, hey, The Athletic is reporting that Texas and Oklahoma say they have not officially asked to leave the Big 12. That's probably part of a legal play. They're also being like, hey, wait a minute. What's going on here? We thought you guys might, I'm not saying this is what Oklahoma and Texas' stance is, but they were probably hoping that the Big 12 would blow up.
That's exactly what they were hoping.
All right, and so now all of a sudden they're not blowing up. They're adding teams, and they're going to leave. We know they're going to make all the money they want, and they earned that, all of the image and everything else. But they're all of a sudden going, wait a minute, what if we haven't left until 24, 25, which we know they're not going to wait that long, and all of a sudden we're playing Brigham Young, or we're playing Cincinnati, or we're playing UCF. Not that they're afraid of playing those teams. How is that going to affect the schedules we have now?
Well, I think that this is probably medium news for Texas and Oklahoma, in that now the Big 12 is acting proactively as if they are going to leave, and it's not, what's going to happen later on, and let's try to figure it out in a couple years. It's figured out now. Let's get it worked out. And then now that you can start in earnest talking about what your actual exit fee is going to be, which I'm sure the Big 12 will try to make that a huge, huge number, but it won't be as big because now the conference is afloat as opposed to sinking right after they left. So it's medium news. The best news for Texas and Oklahoma was you leave, the Big 12 completely falls apart. Everybody, scatters like cockroaches when the light comes on, but that's not what happened. The 8 stayed together and made it as hard as they could for Texas and Oklahoma, but now in a couple years they can leave.
I think that everyone expects that by 23. You would think by next season as well. So, Craig, your thoughts about 4 or 6? If there was, and again, it may depend. Does that mean you're going to get 20, not 24? Does that mean you might get more? I don't know. I don't know all that number. But your thoughts about, well, what the hell? Let's just go ahead and get Boise State and Memphis and add them to the pie right now.
Well, I mean, it depends on who the teams are. If it's Boise State and Memphis, then I think I'm pretty okay with that. But if you're starting to talk about, let's just throw in Tulane and let's throw in, somebody a bit more random that's not so much on the radar, then I would think, yeah, maybe that's not the best idea. I mean, you don't want to weaken yourself in the process of trying to strengthen yourself.
Sure, that's a good point.
Like somebody pointed out, I mean, Cincinnati at least has a bit of a track record. Like, if Luke Fickell left, would they maybe take a step down? Yeah, but, I mean, at the same time, they're not joining a Power 5 or wanting to get into the Power 5. They want to get into the Power 5 for the benefits that it does have. But, you're not getting into that and then just saying, oh, we're here. We're cool now. Yeah, we're not going to worry about winning anymore. I mean, they're going to be as competitive as ever. So, I mean, the ones that we've talked about the most often make sense. Those 4, Houston was the debatable one in terms of just location, but I think we've ironed out why they make a lot of sense. So I don't think they need to stretch it too much further. I think you start to kind of, water it down a little bit. But those two teams in particular, I think Memphis certainly, is one that a lot of people brought up. And Boise State was probably the second most brought up out of everybody. So it's not surprising. It is a little surprising that maybe we're talking about another wave of this, but it's not surprising if you were listening last week because that's what we brought up.
Yeah, it's Chapter 1 and maybe Chapter 1A. Now, you think about Cincinnati football, names like Watson Brown, Mark D'Antonio, Brian Kelly, Butch Jones, Tommy Tuberville, Luke Fickell. They have a run here of football. Mike Gottfried back in the day, Homer Rice, a historic name in college football. I'm just using it's not like they've always won, but they are committed to winning the game in football. Now, also, it's about what they bring to the table besides wins and losses.
Look, if you look at the 4 teams that are coming in, look, Houston is in a massive television market. We've gone through all that. But the 3 others, BYU has wanted to be a Power 5 team since they went independent. Their whole purpose of this was to get back to a conference that would do better for them overall. They're not a major independent that can make the kind of TV deal that Notre Dame did, but they are a major independent that comes with a lot of people. UCF has spent the last decade, especially the last 5 years, putting the pedal down to become a Power 5 team and explain to anyone who would listen why they're there and not just a commuter school anymore. And Cincinnati was a Power 5 school. So they've done it before.
Yeah.
So those all make sense on that level in that, you've got 2 schools that have absolutely been positioning themselves for this. Another one who was and has been trying to figure out how to get back in after they made a mistake. Clearly they made a mistake when the Big East fell apart. But they didn't languish in that. They just said, okay, how do we get back to where we need to be? And they've done that, and Cincinnati's earned their way back in. And now you've got, 4 teams coming into the Power 5 or back into the Power 5, and they seem to all be ready for it.
I like it. I mean, I like the teams that are coming in. I like that they're going to be, going above and beyond and not just saying, oh, we'll get 2 for right now, and then maybe another 2 later, and then another 2 later. No, I like that they're going balls to the wall right out of the gates and bringing in 4 and saying, hey, we're going to be, at 12. We're going to be at 14 maybe for a couple years as well. And I think it doesn't apply or force Oklahoma or Texas anything, but it does make them go like, well, shoot, now do we really want to play with Cincinnati and, these teams potentially for a couple years? I mean, how much longer do we want to be in the Big 12? So I think it kind of does accelerate maybe some of the thinking on the other side of, okay, now we got to make a move. We'll see, obviously, on that. But, all I asked when this whole thing started, the only thing I asked for was just to be proactive, show a vision, show some, new ways of thinking, a little bit outside of the box. Don't confine yourself to just the same old Big 12 speak and talk, because that led you where you are right now. And what I've seen in the few weeks since then is that they've gone through with this rather quiet but very obvious little search of theirs, is they have been proactive and maybe even a bit more proactive than we even gave them credit for. So I like that the ball's rolling. I like that the wheels are turning. And, I don't know, obviously the next step is the end of this week to officially recognize these 4 as new members of the Big 12, which we're all expecting to happen. So, this next step is now probably the most intriguing to me.
Yeah, I agree. And we don't know. Again, we're scheduled to have Mack. I keep telling you that because on the guest lineup I said tentative. Hopefully we'll be able to get him at some point today, if not right off the top. And a lot of it might be if they're still meeting. That's kind of more important than jumping on with us, although that's hard to imagine anything more important than jumping on with us.
I can't help but think, though, if I know geography doesn't matter in conference alignment and all that, it's not a big concern, but man, that Boise to UCF trip would be quite a little venture if you had to do that, especially like basketball.
Would there be any more value? We look at cities, eyeballs, things like that, and of course, streaming's another animal, whatever they can eventually do with that. Would it be more valuable if the Big 12 was to somehow figure out a way, all in at one, to have their own regional type network, but it's Mountain Time to East Coast time?
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because I've been Boise State, Brigham Young. I don't know enough about all that, but you're wondering. Now you have West Virginia, UCF in the East, Cincinnati right there in the
They're in the east.
In the east, northeast.
Yeah.
Then you have the Boise State, Brigham Young, and everything else in between. Memphis, which is, God, I know that's exactly 7-hour drive. It's 9 hours or so from here, right, Paul? About 9 hours, I think, from Waco.
Well, no, I mean, you break down, which I think what you're trying to say is you basically got every part of the country covered except for, like, the Southwest, really, and then you could technically count Texas in that, and Oklahoma, really, if you wanted to. They could count as Southwest. You just wouldn't have that lower left part of the country with California and Arizona.
Yep.
I mean, outside of that, though, the Northwest, obviously, with Boise, you'd have the Midwest covered, and you'd have the East Coast, UCF, and I know not all of them, like some of them probably consider themselves Midwest or whatever, but I mean between West Virginia, Cincinnati, UCF, etc., you'd have that side of the country with some good representation as well. You know, it'd just be interesting to see how they finagle the trips and things like that, but you'd have a much wider reach than you've had maybe ever as a Big 12
One of the
conference.
things that UCF brings to the table for West Virginia, even though that's not like just 100 yards, 100 miles, is that there's somebody in your own time zone.
Yeah.
And obviously with what Memphis and Cincinnati, not that far either. So good for them if that can happen. We don't know. Those are just some things. This is stuff that I'm trying to get to you without saying, hey, by the way, this means every time there's realignment, I'm going to have everything imaginable for you. This is background, due diligence. This is intelligence. This is trying to, and that's hard to say with me, trying to get you what is going on right now and hopefully Mack Rhoades. Let's break here, Paul, or take a couple of calls.
Yeah, let's break calls and then Mack.
I think to close out, you should just give a summary of what you said, like
All
the
right.
Cliff's Notes version.
So the 4 teams we know, that's done. But there is a push within some inside of the Big 12 to just go ahead and jump to 6. And if you go to 6, the 2 favored teams would apparently be Memphis and Boise State. I don't know if it's 5 or 6, whatever, doesn't matter. They would then also be a part of it. What it's all about, though, is still how can you make sure you don't drop to 10 or 12 million a year in TV network money. I'm telling you right now, the word that I'm getting is they can somehow maybe get to 24 million gross, minus the 10% that goes to the conference, and then add your tier 3 rights, your NCAA units from the tournament, the Big 12 championship game, and the college football playoff. And the reason why you have to expand, in case Texas and Oklahoma bolt at a certain time, whether it's in 2 years, 3 years, or later, is that if you fall below 10, you don't get to host a conference championship game. You lose $20 million a year. If you don't do that, you're not going to be a part of the college football playoff, no matter if you have a team that's very elite. You'd have to get fortunate there, depending on if it grows from 4 to 8 to 12. And you lose that money, which is probably a couple of $1 million more a year. So that's what they're looking at. That's what they're trying to figure out. And if you get to 24, which is much more than most people ever thought would be the case, Tier 3 is not just ESPN Plus. That's $4 million a year for everybody right now. This also could be where ESPN wants to move on. And they may also realize that they might have gotten their hands caught in the cookie jar, in whatever legal terms you want to use. And so, hey, let's figure this out on our end as well, and let's try to get a deal done or extend the deal. And that all of that is going on right now. When we come back, we'll see if Mack Rhoades is available. Take your calls. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got the Labor Day savings event that was going on. They had the summer savings event going on these last few months as well. And I got in a wreck coming back from Big 12 Media Days. It was not my fault, thankfully, and my car's been drivable the entire time. But Richard Carr is the place that I've gone to get my car fixed. And they looked it over. I went over there a few weeks ago, and they treated me great. They treated me absolutely fantastic. I was in and out in pretty much no time at all, and they're going to give me a call when it's ready to come over to the lot. So I've enjoyed their customer service immensely, and I wasn't even trying to buy a car. So for those out there that are looking for some new models or used models, well, Richard Carr has had Labor Day sale pricing going on their cars all month long. You can come by and see the yellow tag Labor Day savings on new and used cars throughout the lot. And even though Labor Day, like I said, has come and gone, those savings continue throughout throughout the entire month of September. Right now, Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All of them go through a 172-point inspection before ever hitting the lot. And with dozens of lenders, Richard Carr is ready to say yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always their goal. If they don't have the right car or truck for you on the lot, they'll put you first in line for the many cars or trucks that are coming their way. Get your name on the priority list now to get the perfect vehicle for yourself as soon as they arrive. But if you are unsure and maybe you need an idea of what vehicles to check out that they do have available right this second, well, how about the Cadillac, a.k.a. the ultimate American luxury vehicle? It's got sophisticated looks. It's got powerful and exhilarating drive. And at Richard Carr Cadillac, you can find the right model for you, whether it's a smooth and powerful CT4 sedan starting at only $33,395, or perhaps the XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs in the style and size to fit your lifestyle. For those here in the greater Central Texas area and Waco area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. And if you're looking to take a test drive, they can bring the test drive to you, or traditionally you can go over to the lot, take a test drive there. But again, with the kind of weird world we're living in right now, not everybody can get out, but they do need a ride. Well, just contact Richard Carr, and they will set up that test drive and bring it to you. Richard Carr Motors, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Just got word.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long-distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and both include shower, sauna, and whirlpool, and a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by Pro Britco. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the Bet US hotline, 254-339-1122.
All right, here's for those of you on hold. You have 30. Now, we're not trying to be cruel here, but we're trying to. Mack Rhoades is going to join us, Baylor Athletic Director, here in about 3 to 4 minutes. So here we go. Make it quick. We want to get you on because you've been on hold.
All right, let's go to Abby in Ohio. You're on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Hey, this is Tracy from Cincinnati, Ohio. We coming to the Big 12 to dominate the Big 12. Make no mistake about it. We're the highest-ranked team right now in the Big 12 if you take out Oklahoma and Texas. And look, we want to keep it at 12. Boise adds nothing. Memphis adds nothing. You want to add another school? Add a San Diego State or Fresno so we can get the California market. That makes sense more so than Memphis. Memphis is the third Tennessee team. Nashville, you got Vanderbilt. Knoxville, you got UT. So they're not even commanding a market. Boise just got Idaho. I mean, if we're going to expand past 12, it has to make sense money-wise because this is a money move, period, for everybody. So adding more teams that bring no value means less pie. We don't want that. We want all the money. We want all the championships.
All right. Hey, Tracy, what I love about you is that you all, for a while, were left out. And now you're trying to command the room. I love it. I love your swagger, man. That's what we want to hear that. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, and if you come down to Waco for that first road trip, whenever that is, make sure you give us a ring, and maybe we'll get to hang out a little bit. But, love the passion, Tracy, and looking forward to seeing Cincinnati.
Yeah. All right, Chris in Missouri, welcome aboard.
Hey, guys. Okay, 2 points, so I'll make them as fast as I can. Tier 3 rights. Try and get Bowlesby to talk to Apple. Apple TV is dying on the vine for content. They have 113 million iPhones in the United States and 700 million subscribers to Apple TV in addition to all the Apple laptops. That right there would give you exclusivity on Tier 3, and it would help Apple out so they might pay more than some of the others. The other, as far as going to 6, South Florida is probably a better choice than Boise. It's going to be better locations for trips for people rather than going up to the cold. Raymond James Stadium is nicer than Boise Stadium, and the facilities are better than what you have in Boise because they used to play in the Big East. One last thing, the TV market is better. Tampa St. Pete is better than Boise. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call. All right.
Hey, and I want to go back to Tracy, too, because Tracy mentioned going the out west route, and now you've got him talking about, not Boise, so, I mean,
San Diego State, Fresno State, yeah.
But, I mean, clearly the Big 12 is thinking of these things. They're not looking at Boise and just going, we just want them even though they make less money. I mean, clearly there's something that they would see in Boise that translates to them being a more of a fit for the Big 12. So what those reasons would be versus a South Florida or someone like that, I don't know. I mean, I get we got to move on, but I want to answer their questions too. And on the Apple TV thing, I have Apple TV. I mostly use it to watch movies I've already bought. I know a lot of people watch like Ted Lasso and stuff, but there's not a lot that pulls me to watch content on there. Like, I'm not a huge watch everything guy. Paul, you kind of are, but there's not a lot that draws me there. If Apple had college football, I can promise you I'd watch way more Apple TV than I do right now.
Yeah, and that would rope you into watch if you haven't seen Ted Lasso or See or something like that.
Get to that call, please.
Yeah. Steven from Virginia, go!
Hey, guys, I want to make a quick point about how Boise and Memphis are absolutely the last two teams you should add. First, Boise is the only program that's going to be within a shouting distance of BYU that we can add. I'm tired of adding schools like West Virginia and not giving them a natural rival. Second, Memphis is in the heart of the worst SEC football state. Tennessee and Vanderbilt are sorry. If you actually wanted to challenge an SEC market, that would be the one to do it. Later, guys.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate the call. When we come back, Baylor AD Mack Rhoades, Sikkim 365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. I asked 3 friends of mine, the tailgate, what are the 5 when you put product on the grill or the smoker, what do you want? Burgers, brisket, dogs, hot links, and fajitas from one. That's pretty simple. Chicken, ribs, turkey, beef, and cold shrimp as kind of an offset for another. And then sausage, brisket, tri-tip, pork ribs, and bacon. And that's from our good friend Hobby, Kyle, the other one, and Brian, the other one. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. WacoCustomMarketplace.com is where you can find all of whatever you need when it comes to tailgating, including the charcoal, bags of charcoal. If you want tri-tip, you want brisket, you want sausage or chicken or whatever else, beef, and what you need in between, whether it's plates and forks and all that other stuff, accessories, they have it. And you can order early in the week or even ahead of time and say, this is what I want the day before Baylor hosts Texas Southern, or, man, look at their home schedule. Oklahoma, Iowa State, Texas Tech, and UT, and Brigham Young. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Since its inception, Pickup Outfitters has remained politically neutral. We love trucks of every persuasion, not just red and blue ones. But people keep asking us where we stand, and for this one time, we're going to break our neutrality. We oppose any government intervention or legislation to end truck nudity. We believe in the American right to drive nude vehicles. We think it's disgusting. We fight it every place we can, and we want to end it, but we want to end it the right way, peaceably. Therefore, we call on Congress and President Biden to respect the rights of truck owners. Our founding fathers didn't own a truck, but if they did, I bet they would have put a bed cover and running boards on their truck. The right to keep and bear your truck the way you want is fundamental to the fabric of this nation, and we believe in that right. So we urge you to come and take it at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com.
Not only will you find an award-winning dealer at Allen Samuels, but you'll also find some great award-winning products. The 2021 Ram brand was ranked the #1 automotive brand on J.D. Power's initial quality study. The 2021 Dodge brand ranked #2 behind Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator named highest quality midsize truck. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco, where we deliver quality.
Come by, let's be friends.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, here we go. This 3 o'clock hour. Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, subcommittee of the Big 12 expansion, and God knows what else. We haven't talked to Mack in a long time. He's been very busy. You have been a busy man. Did you have any meetings today by any chance when it came to the conference?
No meetings today relative to the conference. So how about that? And just by the way, thank you for finally fitting me in.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
For a while, and so I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Wow, that's a very. Hey, I got a fundamental question. I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Does the Big 12 expanding, whenever that time comes, or even discussing expansion, does that in any way, shape, or form affect the grant of rights with anybody else in the conference?
In general, no, it does not.
So you can talk about expansion with other teams and or look into expansion, and it does not affect the grant of rights and when it ends.
You know, all I will say is that right now we have a conference of 10 members, and at least for now, we believe, all 10 of those members will be members through the 24-25 season. All 10 are voting members and participate or can participate in any vote or change in membership in the future, and that does not impact future grant of rights or other obligations.
From the day that you testified in front of the Senate here to now, how would you say the track of the Big 12 has changed?
It's a great question. I think, like anything, after, initial, impact, I think there's this evolutionary process, this period of time of just trying to get your feet settled underneath you and understand what has happened and then focusing on how you move forward and so I think there will be that period of uncertainty and look, there's always uncertainty, but I think that period of uncertainty will become clear in the future, and I do believe the Big 12 has a great future ahead of it.
You can't really say much, can you?
No, I really can. And I look, I know people understand that. And I know that you all understand that. And you need to ask those questions. And so I completely respect that. I've been blessed and as you mentioned at the beginning of the segment, to be on the expansion committee. I signed as well as everybody else a confidentiality form. And, as the athletic director for, one of 10 institutions right now, it's not my place to talk about anything specifically as to our future. That's really the commissioner's place. And so, I respect that. But I'm not going to be, bashful in saying that, I think we've got a bright future, and I think Baylor has a prominent place in that future.
If there was a non-disclosure agreement, then how come not everybody is abiding by it within the conference? Because I've seen others who have discussed expansion. I've seen others discuss the numbers that they would like as far as teams. Is that dangerous, or is that kind of something that you're trying to, as a conference, maybe put out a couple of those, I guess, things that are being said?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of everyone, and we're gonna do our best to adhere to that and be respectful to those that are asking the questions. If you're asking my opinion, should we expand? Number one, number two, should what's that number? I would tell you, yeah, I absolutely believe that we should expand, but it's got to be the right, the right institutions. And, I would, if I had to choose between 2 or 4, I would tell you that, I think, that just given landscape, given potential, additions, right? If that's what we do, I like the number 4, and again, I think that could be really, really good for the Big 12.
What about 4 or 6?
Yeah, I just I think whatever happens in the future, that doesn't preclude from another step. Not saying that would happen, but it wouldn't, I think, preclude from another step, another phase. But for me right now, I just again, my opinion only. I think 4 for a lot of different reasons, which hard for me to talk about without breaking confidentially. But I think 4, if we're gonna do anything, is very compelling versus 6 at the moment.
You have been an AD at other places. Does that give you maybe even more insight on what can be accomplished at other places where you've been?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it gives me some insight into any of those particular institutions, and I think I'm grateful for the other 7 member institutions that will remain in the Big 12. I think there's great value there. Got great respect for the presidents, chancellors, the athletic directors, and if we choose to grow and bring in additional members, we owe it to each of ourselves. We owe it to the 8 to be really, really thoughtful and careful about who those members are, and making sure that they make the Big 12 better, that they don't weigh down the Big 12, and it gives us great opportunity to grow. I think about just the idea of hiring coaches or head coaches, right? You hire coaches, right, with the hope and the intent, or for that matter, any staff, that what they are today isn't what they're going to be 5 years from now. That 5 years from now, they're going to even be better. They're going to be much better. And so I think that's certainly part of the thought process. And quite frankly, Baylor needs to be better five years from now. We probably, just finished up arguably the best year in the history of Baylor athletics, when you think about not just athletic success, but academic success, our other 2 pillars, character formation, spiritual growth. And yet, we need to be better 5 years from now. We had an all-staff meeting today, and we talked about it. We talked about, I believe this. Our best days are still ahead of us, and I'm going to echo those same sentiments with the Big 12.
Mack, you have two teams, Texas and Oklahoma. I got to ask you before I can ask you a follow-up question, and I don't know what you can tell me, but they have asked that they've already made I guess they've already said they're leaving or for another conference at the end of 24-25. Am I right with that? That they have asked for out of the conference.
Yes, I mean
okay.
That's been public, and each of their boards voted to do that, and the SEC voted to accept them.
Okay, so my question, and I hope I can ask this correctly, is if in fact that is true, why do they still get to vote?
Well, look, that's certainly a fair question, and I'm not our outside, Big 12's outside counsel, and so I haven't certainly read every line, through a legal lens in terms of our bylaws and our grant of rights. But fact remains is they are still members until 24-25, and we're gonna treat them as such, and that is certainly following our bylaws.
Go ahead, Paul.
Before this happened, obviously you guys were working on the next TV deal and all of those rights, and then this kind of threw a wrench in that, because or you at least trying to move towards that. How much involved is the conference now talking with potential other TV partners, and how difficult are those discussions, not being able to really know what you're saying just yet?
Yeah, Paul, I appreciate the question, and I was part of that committee, and for now, I think those conversations, that dialogue has been put on pause until we have more clarity, a better understanding of what the Big 12 is going to be. The institutions, the number of institutions. But certainly here in the near future, I think we'll begin to re-engage. And you think about 24-25. It's a long time from now, and this has been a really changing landscape, and I would say rapidly changing landscape when you think about television and you think about cord cutting and linear television broadcasts, and right now CBS to some degree, but it's primarily ESPN and Fox, and 3 to 4 years from now, 5 years from now, are there more bidders, buyers in that space when we think about college athletics, live content, linear, and then I think we're still figuring out the digital aspect. Obviously ESPN has ESPN Plus, but does an Amazon or a Netflix or some of those others get into the space, and how do you monetize that? So, a lot of fluidity to all of it. But to answer your question, we'll get back re-engaged. Here I think in the near future, once we have a little bit more certainty about who we are.
Mack, when the news came out, which has now been several weeks ago, about Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC, I can't imagine anybody was more blindsided, it appears, than the commissioner himself. And there were thoughts, would he even make it another week or two? Because we know what it did to the conference. We know what it did to Baylor. We know what it did to all the teams, the 8 remaining teams, and how dangerous that time was. What have you seen from Bob Bowlesby in response to that being basically knocked on the canvas?
Yeah, I don't know that it's completely fair for me to speak on behalf of Bob, but I do know this, and I don't think that he needed to share it with anybody, but I do think he was hurt. There was some trust there, and not some, but I think a lot of trust between Bob and the 10 member institutions, and I think that was really hard for him. I think he showed great resolve. Is probably as hard as that was for him. He's been at work, constantly, consistently about, how do we move forward? And I think I can speak on behalf of the presidents, chancellors, the athletic directors that, we're grateful that, he's been in the foxhole. I'd like to think that we've all been in the foxhole with him, in terms of figuring this out and how do we best move forward.
Mack, just a brief question on Texas State last week and the broadcast issues that they had. I don't want to relitigate that. I mean, it happened. I mean, and everything has to deal with it. But, there were issues when it comes to replay and technology. In the future with Tier 3 rights, if that's going to be what you have to do, where you take a school's in-house broadcast, is there need to be some sort of spot check or anything that the conferences need to do to make sure that teams are ready to go, for these things to get ready for Tier 3 rights, because clearly not everybody is ready for something like that.
Yeah, Paul, I appreciate the question. And, I don't want to be harsh, but I obviously was not pleased, to say the least. I appreciate that Texas State has taken ownership in it and has apologized for it. But I think you bring up a great point. And I've already talked to Dennis Polian, Marcus Sedbury, and Jovan Overshone that in the future, when we think about, games, visiting non-conference, visiting games contractually, do we need to begin to spell out standards for, any third tier broadcasts? Not all non-conference away games are third tier, but do we need to begin to do that to ensure that doesn't happen? Unfortunate, and I know our fans weren't happy. I wasn't happy, and for that matter, Texas State wasn't happy. So we've got to find a way to prevent that from ever happening again. You think about this, Paul. What happens if it's a close game and that touchdown, that's a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Because replay's not working? Well, that's unacceptable. Replay has to be working. But I do. I appreciate that Texas State has taken full ownership, and look, I know the people there. They're really good people, and they'll get better because of it.
Yeah, replay. For fans watching and listening right now, replay is as fundamental as if the chains were broken. They wouldn't be like, well, the chains are broken, we're just not going to measure first downs. I mean, it's part of the rules. Yeah,
no, absolutely. So here's what I was really proud of. So unbelievable throw and catch by Josh Fleets, and obviously incorrect call was a touchdown. Josh didn't moan. He ran back, and on the very next play, blocked his tail off. And proud of Josh for the way he reacted to that and the way that he moved on.
Mack, I want to ask you about a timeline because there's so much. I know you're kind of bound by the non-disclosure agreement and all that. So you have 10 teams. 2 of them are leaving. Can the conference have discussion on expansion while they're still a part of the conference?
Can we have discussion about it? Absolutely. We can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you vote on it?
Yeah, absolutely we can. I'll jump ahead and answer the next question for you. Can we add before? those two leagues? Yes, absolutely we can. So those are things that they're all in play, all been talked about, vetted. And again, I think I started the segment where, I'm not going to be bashful about saying that, I think the Big 12 has a bright future.
Then also on top of that, if in fact you can do all of what you just mentioned, you are doing that, does that in any way affect the current television contract that you have that runs through 24-25?
Not negatively. It does not. Could it enhance? That would remain to be seen if we indeed change membership, prior to the end of the current contract. But negatively impact? No, I don't believe so. We don't believe so.
When we had you on after things went down, I asked you this question. Do you believe in your heart that Baylor would remain a part of a Power 5 conference and a part of the autonomy? And you said then you did. And with what appears to be going on right now with possible momentum, and if not just momentum, maybe not just a pulse, but down the tracks, do you feel even better today than you did back when you said that to me?
And I'm struggling with my answer because, I felt certain of it then and I feel certain of it today. I think that vision is probably a little bit clearer today than it was then. But so, that's probably the best way for me to describe it. The difference between 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whenever that was, and today. And I think our fans know this. I think our student athletes know this. Our staff knows that we're gonna fight, scratch, and claw like crazy for what's best for Baylor, and it's certainly in this instance what's best for the Big 12.
You feel like there's going to be something that is more than just what you can say now, even matter of days or weeks?
I would, yeah. I mean, I think probably the closest I can get to that is sooner rather than later.
Hey, Mac, how about a home game this weekend? How about that?
Really? Do we have one?
Yeah. That's what I heard, at least. That's what I heard.
I understand that it kicks off at 6 o'clock. Yeah, I'm excited. The old adage, right, that the most improvement a football team makes is between week 1 and week 2. And I thought our performance was somewhat a little bit of a coach's dream, right? Did some really good things that you could point to, but there were enough things that you did wrong that there was the opportunity to catch the attention of both your staff and your young men, and talk extensively about standard and execution and how that performance measured up, and again, a lot of really good things, but also some specific things that we can be better at, that we are better at than what we showed, and so I think that's the challenge, going into Saturday's game is to get better into those, in those areas, and to play to the standard that we have set for ourselves.
Mac, I've had one question I wanted to ask you, and this one more about expansion, and thanks for your time today, and I'm glad that you found time for us with your long whatever you've been, if in fact, okay, heck, it doesn't matter. I can go. I can ask it another time. I'll ask it another time.
Sure?
Yeah.
All right.
I think we.
I'm go and ask it. If I can't answer it, I'll tell you I can't answer it.
Yeah, I'll try to text it to you. I kind of just went blank on it, to be honest with you.
Word it right.
The home game thing just threw me.
Sorry.
I mean, I was focused.
Mac, don't let him say he went blank. He's getting old. It just happens. If we don't address it, it won't get better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. All right.
Well,
no.
to that would be a human resource. I'm not down that.
I do have the question. What's the difference if the Big 12 is in contact with teams in other conferences, or maybe even one that may not be a part of a conference, in what the SEC and what Texas and Oklahoma were doing?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I'm glad you remembered. I think it's process. I think it's the way it's done. I think schools need to be the ones to submit application to have those. I just think it's about the process, but I also think it's about transparency and how you handle it with your own conference, and maybe not just how you handle it with maybe the conference that you want to become a member of, but the conference that you're in, and so I think it's a really complicated question. I'd like to think that certainly. I know that the Big 12 has handled it the right way, and I'm not saying any other conference did not. So I don't want anybody to read into that. And I can't really speak to how how any future potential member would handle it with their own conference.
Thank you. I'm glad my brain checked back in for just enough of a second. I was panicking there, and I started sweating right here on the air with this interview. Thanks for your time, Mac. We'll see you Saturday. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, gentlemen. Look forward to it.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics. A lot of you should have been reading between the lines on either what he could or couldn't say, what he did or didn't say. And I know that you could tell he's got to be careful with a lot of the lingo, the language, legal or not. And we appreciate his time on Sikkim 365 Radio. Spencer Drango, you want to?
I got a lot to say, but we need to get Spencer.
All right, we're going to come back. We'll come back and wrap up with what Mac will kind of go over that. Spencer Drango, former Baylor All-American offensive lineman, is in the studio. We're going to break here?
Yes.
We'll break and come back with him. He's next on Sikkim 365 Radio. The city of Woodway, they're having still a lot of these fall camps going on, or what they are events, participation with a lot of kids. For example, how about this? Volleyball at Polk Park, sand volleyball from 8 to 11-year-olds. Flag football, Whitehall Park for 5 to 10-year-olds. Woodway residents get a discount. This is going on 4 weeks, continuing now 2 days a week. Go to the website, discoverwoodway.com for the information on Woodway Family Centers, clinics at the park. And, of course, if you're coming in for a Baylor home game, 7 hotels in Woodway in that area that are just a quick drive to Baylor University, to McLean Stadium, to the Farrell Center, and, of course, Magnolia, the Silos, Balcones are everywhere else. It's busy. It's busting at the seams. It's Woodway. And go to get more information, discoverwoodway.com.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me. Genco is my credit union. They're always there for me. They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Play clock at 2. In the pocket. Intercepted! Jumping the route is Christopher Smith. A foot race. Can the quarterback catch him? He cannot. Pick 6, Georgia.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
There's so much to unwind from our time with Mack Rhoades. We will in the next segment. We're also going to hear from Wally Hall, covers Arkansas. They host Texas this weekend. We'll get to that from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. We're now joined Spencer Drango, former Baylor All-American offensive lineman in studio. He was here Saturday because Blake Blackmar was here. Spencer wasn't here because of us. He was here because Blake Blackmar had a bunch of stuff in the smoker and all that.
It was good, too.
Yeah, and it was absolutely phenomenal from, it had everything. Peppers, all of it. What was the best of what you had on Saturday from Blake?
That's a great question. I think it would have to be the beef ribs that he made.
Yeah.
He made, 2 racks of beef ribs, those big dino bones. Came right off
Fred
the
Flintstone
bone.
would have been proud.
Oh, yeah. Would have been super proud.
Yeah.
Would have been super proud. I mean, fell right off the bone, moist, tender, just delicious. He did a great job.
Those peppers got to me a little bit later on. Those things are great, but they don't always They don't always like the body.
There's
too
a
much.
toll.
Yeah, there is.
There's a toll.
All right, let me ask you this. You know that the offensive line over the last few years, even the 19 team at times struggled, whether it was protection or it was being able to truly run the ball, but they ran the ball much better, and they had a heck of a defense. They ran for a lot of yards against Texas State, and yet they should. But as a former offensive lineman, should they? Is that fair for me to say? And yes, they should against Texas State?
I think so. Anytime that you have all intents and purposes a better team than the team you play, you should put up a lot of yards as an offensive line. And it's a good way to, especially early, it's a good way to kind of test your merit and see how you're gelling as a line and how you're coming together and playing together. And then also, kind of impose your will early and get that confidence up, because you're going to need it when it comes to these later games in the season.
Spencer, fundamentally last year the offensive line was lost. I mean, they're complete. You could see them. They're complete. I think about Xavier Newman-Johnson and how he would not step the right way. It looked like he was thinking oh, that's what the center does, and then he's at left guard and he stepped the wrong way. The other day they looked a lot better in that regard. How much of a jump have you seen just in the fundamentals of going and hitting your guy from this offensive line?
Significant improvement over the last couple of years, especially last year to this year. A lot of that comes with comfortability in the player himself and how confident he is in his own ability, and also playing with the guys next to you, just getting that cohesiveness going, and then knowing the offense as well. And so I think these guys have definitely spent a lot of time in the film room getting this offense down and really learning it and being able to go out there and put up big numbers like they did.
What's it like to have a new quarterback back there as an offensive lineman? Like, kind of what's going through your mind other than your job? Because I imagine you feel protective of him either way, but when it's a new guy especially.
Yeah, no, you definitely want to be even more on your game when you have a new guy back there, because it's all about building his confidence up, giving him time to make the throws he can. It might take him a split second longer to be able to decide, hey, I need to go here or here, or, do I run or whatever. But if he's got all day to stand back there, it makes his job a lot easier, which overall makes the team do better.
I would think no matter the offense, and of course you were in one was hair on fire, and you guys could still run for 300 yards and destroy people's will. But you could probably play in any type of system because of the talent you had, athleticism, and size. What about the wide zone? What are your thoughts about what you see them trying to do that created some holes that last year weren't there?
No, that that offense kind of stems from the Shanahan offense, and I never got to run it at the next level, but I knew a lot of guys who did, and they really enjoyed it. Like you said, it does open up a lot of holes. If you get guys running, you can cut it front side, you can open up a whole backside. So it's designed to create those massive holes to run through, but it is on the running backs to be able to see it and have enough patience to be able to hit the right hole at the right time.
What's it like to be able to just wear somebody out? They were getting close to that. Again, it wasn't a blowout. But when you do, like what you guys did to some of the teams along the way, what is that like when you know that physically that person's toast?
It's a lot of fun as an offensive line when you get to impose your will on somebody, especially you're tired, especially when we played, we were snapping the ball every 13 seconds or so, which is a blistering pace. And you're exhausted. But when you look over across the line of scrimmage and see, the second and third string guys in who are also dog tired on their hands, their hands on their knees just trying to get air, you're like, all right, we got this. We can do this. And it just makes it more fun. It gives us as a line more confidence to go and just keep doing what we're doing.
What's the next progression over the next couple of games before they get into, Iowa State's the fourth game. So they've got Texas Southern and Kansas to kind of get all this right before you're playing a defensive line that will get after you. What's the progression you need to see?
I think you need to continue to see just the understanding of the offense and kind of technical stuff. There's little things here and there that they could continue to improve on. In that offense, a lot of double teams and that wide zone are big, and so you got to make sure those are crisp and clean. And then also just, again, continue to build that confidence of the line itself and kind of get the line set. Whatever, I know in the starting offense, there's a lot of oars in that first lineup, and so, which is great. You don't know who you're going to play, who's going to get it, but eventually you got to settle in on it and get those 5, 6 guys who play time to gel and really get their communication down.
Can you tell what Eric Mateos, Jeff Grimes, there's all the coaches as well, but can you tell what they're trying to do? Do they have, in a way, there's a little bit of what their identity is going to be?
I think so. Again, it's that wide zone offense that really stretch them out and run them. And up front, it does take a certain mentality to have it. You have to be a little bit lighter on your feet, a little bit quicker, but also still have that power to be able to push those big D linemen past the hole that the running back's going to cut up through. So I think that power, and speed kind of mix is a big thing that they're trying to get.
You were a part of the 2 Big 12 championships. You were a part of the RG3 Heisman Trophy year. But I always thought that 12 and 15 were 2 teams. We know 15 got blown up because of quarterbacks getting injured. But 12 was a team at the end of the year when you beat the hell out of UCLA in the Holiday Bowl, and you embarrassed them physically. How good was that team compared to the other ones at the end of the year, even though the record was 8-5?
We had – it's tough to compare those two, honestly, because both had very good teams. The records were pretty similar. I think, and some of my former teammates might not like it for the older team, but I think we had more potential in the later years, so 15 and 14. 15 especially, if we didn't have all the quarterback issues, I think we would have had, on paper, at least a better team.
That was a college football playoff team, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
If we were able to stay healthy, I think we definitely could have made it there.
Can you take us back to what it's like to have to practice with guys at quarterback that, never get reps? It's not like you run a trick play or you go on down the line, Seth gets the most reps and Jared gets this mid-rep, and then all of a sudden, guys, nobody that's ever had a rep in practice. What's it like for the guys who have been doing that all year long?
Kind of going back to the question earlier about that new quarterback back there, you have to give him time. And when it came to Lynx, he did a great job. Lynx Hawthorne was the quarterback that, wide receiver we had to bring in at quarterback. So he did a great job for us there, but he wasn't a quarterback. That's not what he played, and we just had to bring him in. So it was our job to give him as much time as we can and get the running game going, so it took a lot of pressure off of him. But, it's that next man up mentality that you can have playing, but it got a little bit ridiculous at that point.
And y'all damn near won that Texas game, even with that. I
think, if we had 2 more minutes, I think we would have come back and won that game.
What if you would have done in that game, and listen, there's games you guys won that probably you could have lost too along the way, but had you done what you did against North Carolina in the Orlando, whatever that was called, had you done that from the beginning against Texas, because there were some things that happened early in that game. Do you think that you would have handled, not trying to talk bad about a team that beat you, but could you have just handled that game much easier?
I think so. Once we figured out, all right, this is kind of how we're going to do it. And we took a lot of lessons we learned from the Texas game going into the Russell Athletic Bowl versus North Carolina. So, if we had practiced a doomsday scenario, and we kind of worked in a little bit like, hey, this may be what we need to do. No one's expecting to lose 2.5 quarterbacks that game, right? So it's just one of those where it was unexpected, but we tried to keep going. And like I said, I think if we had 2 minutes more, we could have definitely come back and win that. But to answer your question, if we had the same game plan we did in North Carolina, I think we would have been fine.
It's hard to imagine, even for a coaching staff to go well, we're going to have to let's do that this week. And they have weeks before the game in Orlando to for the light to come on, but you started to see it in the fourth quarter of that game. Kendall was already kind of going around to it. This is just what we're going to do. Draw it up in the dirt. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it was there. It just wasn't there yet.
Exactly. Do
you still keep up with Kendall, Lebby? Lebby obviously had a big performance the other night with Ole Miss. Was it like to kind of see that offense spreading around the country the last few years?
It's really exciting to see it. What we've done, I'm happy for those guys. Kendall and Leb, and even Coach Babers up in Syracuse, and Coach Monty Montgomery in Tulsa. So it's really cool to see the success that those guys are having as they go forward. And the offense, it works, right? It is just a different mentality of offense. It's not the kind of run it down your throat, but we're going to spread it out and then take our shots, and then we're still going to run for a couple 100 yards, hopefully. But
I think when people look back on this time period of college football, they're going to eventually, years and years from now, look back at those Baylor offenses and see where it's not where it originated per se, but it had some of the origination and was highly influential in what we're watching right now 10 years later. Even.
It eventually impacted this type of offense, in other ways impacted the SEC.
Yeah.
100% agree with that. It's, early on before, when I was playing in 11 through 15, you didn't really see that, this offense would never work in the SEC. Like, it's just the defense would shut it down. And then it did work. A&M went, and they had not as prolific an offense as we had, but they had a good offense. And they went in and spread them out and were able to go and almost win the SEC championship that year. And so it is cool to see that offense, that style of offense just continue to grow.
All right, again, I know you got to go. You got something to get to, but you're back in town. You're all dressed up, button-down shirt, got slacks on.
This for y'all, really.
Yeah. That's not what you wore Saturday. Of course, thank God, because you would have died out there in the heat. So you're getting your
beef rib on it.
Yeah, you're getting your masters and all that. How much do you? What else? What are you missing? How much longer do you have?
So I'm back in town doing my MBA. I started it when I was playing here, and in a transition year, coming off of 4 seasons in the NFL plus a free agent year, it was one of those where I was like, all right, what do I want to do next? Well, I've always wanted to finish my MBA. And so I'm back here in town finishing it. I have this semester and next semester to go, but, really looking forward to it. We're 3 weeks in already, and I've learned a lot. And it's really helped me kind of expand my career options and mindset on some things.
I have to ask you before he goes, how different is Waco? I mean, I know you've been back and stuff like that, but I mean, looking at when you were playing versus now, like none of this was here. Like none of this stuff was here. Like how wild is that?
It's really good to see. It's awesome to see the development that's happened. The economy's up, and just more people want to come to Waco, and that's really just truly spectacular. My brother went to Baylor he started in 2008. And that's when you didn't want to leave the Baylor bubble. If you went past 10th Street, it got real rough real quick on the Baylor side, not to mention downtown. But with all the new buildings and businesses coming back and downtown opening up, it's been really cool to see.
Could you see the Browns where they are now when you were there? Because they're getting better. I mean, they're a playoff team.
Yeah, I could. It was being a part of that stepping stone, and it was really a matter of getting the right people in all the different positions that needed to be, not just players, but front office and coaching staff wise. One thing here or there, one off piece, if you have the wrong piece to a puzzle, the puzzle's not going to be complete, and it's not going to look right, and it's not going to feel right. So it is just a matter of figuring out which piece you need to go, and I think they've done a really good job of doing that with players, coaches, and front office as well.
Good to see you, man.
Yes, sir. You too.
Look good. That's Spencer Drango getting his master's with us, was in the studio with us, along with Josh Malin was here. Obviously, Blake Blackmar was here with his smoker.
Avion Edwards.
Avion Edwards, the linebacker, the kid from Stephenville, is a great running back, and he was there.
Though, and listening to him talk about, the 2 Big 12 championships, the Russell Athletic Bowl. I mean, there's so many games and moments we could talk about. So we're gonna definitely have to do this some other time and get into like some of those games. You played in a lot of big games over your time.
Yeah. I was able to play 48 games when I was here. So
yeah,
it was wild.
And that was without the transfer portal and bonus years and all that stuff too. Yeah,
and the most decorated offensive lineman ever as far as recruit at Baylor. As far as the highest-rated lineman to ever be recruited and signed with Baylor as well. Spencer, thanks a lot. Enjoy it. Thank you. Spencer Drango, former Baylor offensive lineman. We're going to come back, try to go back to what we heard with Mack Rhoades and chew on that a little bit. We'll also hear from Wally Hall, covers the University of Arkansas at 4:30 on their game coming up this weekend at Fayetteville against the University of Texas. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio.
BetUS.com, the 25-year leader in online sports betting, America's favorite sports book. Remember these promo codes, Sikkim125 and Sikkim200, 125% bonus on a deposit of $100 or more, or a 200% bonus if you use crypto. So if you use cash, 125%, 200% if you use crypto. Why BetUS? They've got action on every sport across the world, so we can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game, and BetUS offers the industry's biggest real-time bonuses to keep their players betting longer, like Sikkim125 and Sikkim200.
And the BetUS loyalty program is legendary. We keep our players up to date with articles, players, team stats, and trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decision. That's BetUS.com, Sikkim125 and Sikkim1200, the promo codes.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Wally Hall's covered college football for a long, long time. Out of Arkansas, columnist. Texas and Arkansas play this week. It's not like they haven't in recent years on occasion. And, of course, you have the eventual whenever the move is with the SEC, with Texas and Oklahoma. Wally Hall joins Craig Paul, David Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio. Wally, thanks for your time. You've seen it all for the most part. What are your thoughts about the upcoming change in the landscape in the SEC with Texas and Oklahoma?
I think it's going to be a lot more interesting than people realize. Having been familiar with Texas and the power it wields all these years in the Southwest Conference and then the the Big 12. Now they're coming into a league that's got people like Alabama and Florida and Georgia. And, when they close those doors and have those athletic directors meetings, they're not going to be the only big dog in the room.
Wally, do you think they'll be able to go along with it because of that? Do you think they'll be able to maybe be not Texas in that regard and vote with everybody and not start skirmishes? Because that's what they've done in the other conferences they've been in.
No, I don't think they'll be capable of playing nice. They're used to having their way. They're a very rich, very powerful school. They've always had the legislature of Texas on their side. No, I don't expect them to play nice at all. I expect them to come in and for a year or two go along to get along. But let's not forget that this is all about money. That's what college football is about anymore, is money. And just a few months ago, the SEC signed a $3 billion deal with Disney. I believe part of the bargaining was that Texas and Oklahoma would be on the schedule. Because you can't get a $3 billion deal in a conference that's got Rice and Mississippi State. Vanderbilt, Arkansas. You got to have Texas, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. You got to have Texas, Oklahoma. So what this is all about, and I hate it because I've been doing this for 45 years. It's become all about money, and finally the players get to cash in a little bit, although this whole NIL thing is just really confusing to me.
Yeah, I think it's confusing to a lot of people still. I think we're still trying to kind of wrap our heads around all of it. So, Wally, since 2004, obviously these two teams are familiar with each other historically, but they've only met twice since 2004, and what different days those were. In 2008, it was Mack Brown and Bobby Petrino going at it, and then 7 years ago, you had Charlie Strong and Brett Bielema, but obviously been a while. So what's the buzz in Fayetteville for the Longhorns coming to town?
I'm telling you, the state of Arkansas is electric right now. They are. It's like the old Southwest Conference days. Everybody's posting stuff on Facebook, memorabilia. A kid standing over the state of Texas taking urinating, and it's those kind of things. And there's a real buzz here about it. And it's like when they played in the Energy Bowl a few years ago, but in that game, Texas didn't want to be there. Texas didn't really show up. They had been in a BCS game the year before, and to step down to a middle-tier game in Houston, they weren't there. I'm just telling you, I knew from the first press conference to kickoff, those kids were not there. Neither was the staff. And, I don't know if they'll take Arkansas seriously. They've won 3 conference games in the last 3 years, all of them last year. But, and then 38-17 in a game that was a little bit closer than the score would indicate.
What is Coach Pittman doing that might be different than what they have when they've had either a little success or it's not been sustained? What do you see different from what he's trying to do and how he's doing it?
In some ways, Chad's a real throwback to, I would almost compare him more to Darrell Royal than I would any coach I ever covered. The kids that Darrell Royal coached would go into a burning house if he asked them to.
Mm-hmm.
And this team is that way because he cares about them. Earl Campbell spoke up here a couple of years ago, and he told the story when he signed his contract with Houston. He was in the agent's office, and the phone rang, and they said, "It's for you, Earl." And he took the phone, and he said, "It was Coach Royal." And he told me, he said, "Look out the window." And I said, yes, sir. And I looked out the window, and he said, what's there? And he said, a bank. He said, go deposit that check and don't spend it.
Yeah.
You know, today, coaches make so much money that they're more worried about a win, I think. I think some of them still care about the kids, don't get me wrong, but Nick Saban can't make $10 million a year without winning 11 or 12 or 13, 14 games. So his focus is on winning 12, 13, 14 games so I can continue to make $10 million.
Wally Hall, Arkansas.
Again,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I hesitate. It's back to money. So
Wally knows it's all about the money. Like, that's all you got to do is just go back to the money. That's where it all starts and stops.
Wally, I am a traditionalist, which doesn't mean I don't understand. It doesn't mean I understand things can't change, and they obviously have changed in different ways. Realignment, whatever, NIL, transfer portal. Is all of this good for college football's health?
no, I don't think so. I think you're going to end up. It's look, I'm in the twilight of a mediocre career, and I won't be around when this happens. I won't be around. There's probably going to end up being somewhere in the neighborhood of four conferences and 48 teams, and that means a lot of people are going to be left out. That's a whole lot of money to split 48 ways, and I think that's where it's headed. And you know, I hate it. I love college football. It's my favorite sport.
Mm-hmm.
I still get fired up to go to the games. You know, it took me a long time to get over leaving the Southwest Conference. I'll be honest with you. And I love the old. You couldn't take me to a place in Texas and drop me off and me not find good Mexican food. You could have blindfolded me, and I could have found good Mexican food.
You're at the twilight of what you said was a mediocre career. We know that's not true. You're a Hall of Famer with what you've done, how you've covered it along the way. That's one of the reasons I reached out to you today with Texas and Arkansas, but also with college football in general. Paul?
Wally, we knew Kendall Briles really well from his time here at Baylor. His offense, it doesn't take too long to see the dividends from it as far as, yards and points and things like that. Have you seen it really take hold? At least in the first game, they looked really great, and it looked like it's the Briles offense humming on all cylinders.
He hasn't had the personnel that he's really needed to run his offense. And they gave away a lot of their plays last week when they went really fast, really, really fast. They ran the ball every time. And how long do you think it took Bryce to figure that out? Mm-hmm. So, I know he's more creative than that. I know they weren't going to show everything with Texas coming, but he's got to be careful. And, he doesn't have a lot of All-Americans to work with. And I think some of these young kids, and he's got Burks as a receiver who's big time, but he had missed 2 weeks of practice. Showed up on Wednesday before the game in practice, so they let him play. But you talk about rusty. I mean, this is a kid that he would catch anything within 10 yards, and he dropped 2 passes. So, what I think could happen is if Texas doesn't come in fired up, they're going to get shocked. It'll be a close game, but they'll be surprised.
Could Arkansas stop the run?
Yeah, they are actually going to be a run-oriented team this year, and so they practice it against the run a lot. And they're worried about the Texas running backs. But who wouldn't be? And but I don't think Texas has an idea of how dangerous KJ Jefferson can be. The first half, he was just really barely mediocre against Rice. But it was the worst case of nerves I think I've ever seen. He's never played in front of 65,000 people. When he got in games, mop-up rolls or whatever, everybody had left. There was 10,000 people. The 2 games he started, one of them was in a COVID year when there were 16,000 people there, and the other one was, the season was over. So I think he had a real big case of the nerves. He's much more talented. He's not a pure passer, but he's a good thrower, and he's definitely a threat to use his legs to score.
Wally, thank you, man. Appreciate your time. Enjoy that game. all the history of Texas and Arkansas. Good to see they're playing again, and either they have a little bit, and they'll be playing quite a bit, possibly down the road here sometime soon. Thanks for your time. Have a great week.
Thank you, guys. It was my privilege and honor.
Oh, us too. Wally Hall, Arkansas Democrat Gazette columnist. Paul and I, we have a book from the college football writers, and it has everybody in the media, for the most part, as far as those who cover teams, like Colt Barber's names listed for Baylor, among others. And when I was going through the names, Paul sent me a little sheet, a picture of those they had listed for Arkansas, and I know a handful of them, but as soon as I saw Wally Hall's name, that was the first number I called because he's seen it all. He has seen every ounce of it over the years.
Looking at the odds, and I know there's a lot of different places that keep odds, but it seems to be Texas about a touchdown favorite on this game. Just kind of varies maybe depending on what site you're looking at, but seen enough of them now. Looks like the Longhorns are about a 7-point favorite here in the midweek, so that should be a good game. Seeing Sarkisian versus Kendall Briles, those offensive matchups. The matchup I wanted to see so badly was Art Briles and Lincoln Riley, at the height of their powers. But obviously that couldn't happen, unfortunately. But, yeah, this should be a very interesting game. I'm very curious to see, Kendall. He's seen Texas before. He's been in the SEC now for a while.
And he's seen Sark before.
And, Sark obviously is got guns blazing as well. So you throw in the rivalry aspect of this. You throw in what's going to be a hot Arkansas crowd, and I'm sure a lot of burnt orange there too. It's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to this one.
All right, it's 4:42 at 5 o'clock. John Machota will join us. Cowboys in Tampa Bay, Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady, etc. Tomorrow night, start the NFL season. We'll get to that at 5 o'clock. But when we come back, we need to go back and try to piece together, and we'll take your calls at 254-339-1122 on what, huh?
It looks like
and what Mack Rhoades was telling us in his conversation with us, if you read between the lines. There's also more news from the Big 12 as far as the future.
Yeah, so we heard earlier today Cincinnati had officially applied for membership, and now Brennan Hellwig, who's at UCF Sports on Twitter, he's pretty on that beat. He's reporting UCF has officially submitted their formal request, or whatever you want to call it, to become a member of the Big 12. They were always planning on doing it on Wednesday, and he's also saying Friday is expected to be official announcement. So UCF check on the official request to get into the Big 12.
I talked to Jay Katz, who covers Brigham Young, among others. He said Brigham Young, that's done. And so you're going to see timelines or whatever. We know the four. We know it. Yesterday the chancellor or whatever, Houston was given the authority to go work on a conference affiliation. So that's down the road.
Do you realize how much crazy stuff has happened in the last 2 months? I mean, from where we went Big 12 media days, everything's rosy. Everybody's like, hey, kumbaya, we're going to football season. All of a sudden, Texas and OU bombshell drops thanks to an A&M reporter, and then all hell breaks loose, and now here we are. It's been, a couple months, and we got 4 new teams joining the Big 12. Texas and OU are still technically Big 12 members. It's been nuts.
Yeah, in fact, it's been nuts enough that we went from 2,600 subscribers to 10,800.
900.
Of you. 900. That's you. And we appreciate you, and our sponsors love you for it as well. And we've taken we cover the hell out of Baylor. Spencer Drango, Mack Rhoades, we'll continue to do that, but we've also integrated the college football landscape from coast to coast, border to border, and we'll continue to do that as well. When we come back, you have questions about it. You want to discuss it. We want to hear from you. 254-339-1122, Sikkim 365 Radio. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want, need, and maybe used to be. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues when it comes to low testosterone. It happens. Father time, whatever you want to, how you blame it on, happens. Some things happen as you get older. And low testosterone occurs. 1 out of every 3 men. And what does that mean? Your sleep habits change. Your energy can change, and also so can your sex drive. So Dr. Petty will set you up to get your blood work, lab work, and results. Look at the results when he gets them back, and if your testosterone levels have dropped, and or if you're a brand new patient, he'll know where it should be based on your age and whatever else. If it's too low, he'll put you in a program to help you increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and again, maybe used to be. Petty Clinic, LowT.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs. Knowing you, that's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, lines are open. Load them up. 254-339-1122. So much to get to. A lot of you are on the text and chat room. We'll have that as well. The poll that we asked, 788 voted. Should the Big 12 also add Memphis and Boise State, which is what I brought up early in the show? Don't think this may stop at 4, could go to 6. Some in the Big 12 would love to see it go straight to 6. Mack Rhoades kind of said no. He was talking 2 to 4, and he would prefer 4. But that poll is up. 70% say yes to go to 6 rather than just 4. And, of course, it depends on what all the folks within the league have to say about it. So what did you guys hear? If you read between the lines with Mack, and he had to be careful, but then when we started thinking about opinions, we know kind of where he stands.
Yeah, he's pro expansion. I mean, clearly you can tell that's where they want to move towards.
Well, and for a school like Baylor, he kind of has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not in the landscape of the, hey, here's the 50 teams that are going to be the haves, and everybody else, fend for yourselves. They would be on that fend for yourself side of the line. So it was imperative for them to make this work without, a surefire offer elsewhere. And I think, initially – everybody from various fan bases, a lot of Mountaineers fans are like, oh, well, AAC or ACC, here we come. And Tech fans are like, hey, us in Oklahoma State, that deal's still good from a few years ago, right? We'll jump over to the Pac-12. And, then the dust finally actually settled, and the rumors kind of came to a little bit of a stop, and you realized, hey, not just does Baylor not really have an option out there, but guess who doesn't either? The other 7 teams that are still standing. And so I think they all probably realized, like, hey, all for one and one for all, right? And certainly there's still some wrinkles that could occur, if more realignment comes in the future. But I think they moved expeditiously. I think that they identified their targets pretty early, which probably would have been pretty easy because you're only really talking, I would think, about at most, 15 teams for consideration? I mean, consideration, right? So I think you could probably whittle down that list pretty quick. And, the same teams we've been talking about the entire time early on when we didn't have any knowledge of who it might be are all the same teams we're talking about right now. So I think it was pretty clear who the best options were. But, I think Mack made it clear that wait for an announcement this week. I mean, or that one's coming for sure for all you fans out there from those 4 fan bases. I think the writing's on the wall already, but I think without saying it, he further confirmed that.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of you that have asked questions, and I wish we could get to all of them at some point. Let's Matt in D.C., this is just funny. Can't wait to see you guys broadcasting from Cinderella's Castle for Baylor pregame at UCF. Let's go over a couple of these.
I've been there recently, a couple years ago when we went with the family, and because of my nieces, we had to eat lunch there. And other than the constant princess fashion show, the food was lovely.
Wildcat fan here, KSU alum, happy the league is fighting. What do you think? Boise State edition. I just feel they add nothing TV-wise, create more travel issues. And like Memphis, they fit, but who else could be there as a partner? One of the things about Boise, and again, that's just if in fact they go chapter 2 or level 2 with this, it does give a team closer to Brigham Young, but you're not doing that to appease Brigham Young. They're coming no matter where they have to travel. I do think that's an option. I do think if they go to chapter 2 or if there's another level of expansion after the first 4, that Boise and Memphis are the leaders right now at this point in the clubhouse.
Well, and would it be out of line to say that there is a team in Florida that we've been mentioning that is, there's some chatter about them still, and USF is somebody that you got to throw into the loop as well. Don't rule them out entirely. So whatever that next phase could potentially be, I mean, I think that you're looking at, Memphis. I think you don't rule USF out necessarily. And who's the other one? Boise State. Boise State, with Memphis, golly, that basketball conference would be just
sick,
filthy. It's already really good right now with the new additions. Texas and Oklahoma will be losses to an extent for sure, especially now that Beard's at UT and you got Moser at Oklahoma. I think those will be really great additions for the SEC, but I still think the basketball side of things will remain incredibly strong. I'm curious about Boise, though, because they are kind of the one that's sort of out of the...
But they're growing. That market seems to be really, it's kind of become a little bit of energy there.
Right, I get that. And so I'm curious is when these announcements become official, I would really love to dive in with Mack Rhoades or someone of the like on why these were the teams that made sense outside of just we needed people and these were the best that we had. But why would a Boise make sense? Okay. Which they haven't invited them yet, so we'll see.
I'm not a forecaster on this for sure, and I'm not a historian the way both of you guys might be. But was Las Vegas before they became Las Vegas?
No,
it was a sleepy. It was Phoenix,
Las
who they
Vegas
are.
Wasn't Las Vegas until the Mafia arrived.
Okay, was Phoenix who they are now? Because I used to live there back in the late '60s, and it was a Tempe and Scottsdale. I didn't even know a Scottsdale. Phoenix was a nice little town. Now it's like Vegas South, right?
Yeah, it's a big town.
Nashville.
People go on vacations in
Charlotte.
Phoenix. Yeah.
Now, I'm not comparing Boise to any of those. I'm just saying you never know what might grow just because of the way things are, and people can expand pretty quickly.
I'm not in any way trying to put Waco in the greatest cities in America conversation, but in the less than 10 years that I've been here, it's night and day from what it was. So, yeah, a city can absolutely grow and flourish and turn into something completely different. I mean, the city of Austin in the early 90s was not Austin now. City of Austin was cool music and all that, but it was a lot edgier and a little dirtier, back in the day, a little rougher around the edges. And then it's since been cleaned up, and now it's almost becoming too corporatized with all of the businesses moving there. But, yeah, Austin blew up in the last 20 years. So, yeah, who knows who might be the next one.
3-2-1 just ruined all of our days. UCF is actually a lot of ways away from Disney, not even in downtown. If you've not been, it's actually a more nice area with plenty to do on Eastern Orlando. Burger U would be a great place on campus, bar to broadcast.
See, that's what I'm excited about. New stuff, man. Yeah.
Here's from Corey, my dude.
What's
I would
up,
love
Corey?
to see Boise. We haven't heard from Corey in a while. Probably a top 3 or 4 non-power name. Boise probably bigger than a lot of the names that are even Power 5 schools.
Hey, look, if it makes the Cowboys draft picks of all the Boise State players that much more viable because they're a Power 5 school.
Here's an interesting comment. I hadn't thought about this. BYU fan again, super excited. Share the conference with you folks. One last parting thought. Doesn't have to be your last one from the 385. We don't have to outrun the SEC Bear. We just have to outrun the Pac-12 or a non-Clemson ACC. That, I think, is doable. See you guys in October.
Hey, don't leave out the school that built the ACC in football.
Yeah, Miami. We know. And I'm just kidding.
You know what, though?
You got a little. You got a little going there now with
absolutely
FSU.
right in that. I'm going to use I hate to always bring up wrestling, but okay, so WWE's been like the king dog for all of, the last 50 years, and they pretty much always will be because that's just what people know. But there are other companies that have come up and tried to fight, and one right now is All Elite Wrestling. AEW's making a lot of waves, and they got a long way to go to be the WWE or top of the WWE. But they can be extremely successful without being the number one. So you don't have to beat the SEC or be the SEC to be highly successful and make wads of money and have a lot of fun. You just have to be better than most of the others. And I think the Big 12 in a new incarnation with a new fresh blood, far better leadership on board altogether than they probably ever had in the history of the conference. Now that you're eliminating a couple of the voices that did create some of that separation, I think it's a golden opportunity for them. And I don't think they're automatically relegated to being 5 out of 5. I think, they absolutely could be, 3 in that list of 5. And 3 would be great. I mean, that means you're still
what they were.
Making money. Exactly. You're still doing what you were doing.
From the 205 and then a call. Grow a pair, add Memphis. This is from the 205. Memphis recruits and sleeve. And it was a large part of the SEC Foundation. This is from a Bama alum. Thanks for the time. By the way, it's not the Big 12 growing a pair. It's Memphis is in the discussion. They're just not in the first 4. I would love to see Memphis at some point be a part of it, but that's just me, and I've made that clear for quite some time.
Back to Craig's point. You could be Coke, and that's what the SEC is.
Go.
They're Coke. They're the number one thing. But guess what? There's also Pepsi. There's also Dr. Pepper.
Yep.
Mellow Yellow.
What's the thing about when you have to run away from an animal? You don't want to be the slowest one, right?
Yeah,
You just got to
exactly,
be faster than the slowest person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a way to look at what we got from the text,
All
okay?
right, 2 quick calls. Let's go to Ronald in North Carolina.
Here we go.
Ron, thanks for your call.
Hey, thanks, guys. I just want to just chime in a little bit and say as a Big 12 fan, I'm super excited about the expansion. I hope they don't add the Boise State too small, too far away. I hope they stay at 12 because I really believe in the next couple, 2-3 years, the SEC is going to expand again. And when they do, they're going to move into North Carolina and they're going to move into Virginia, and it's going to hurt the ACC. And then the Big 10 is going to go down there and get some schools out of the ACC, and I think some good schools will become available. So we need to stay at 12, wait a couple of years, and then we can poach the ACC for leftovers, which might be Clemson and Florida State because they're not AAU schools, and the Big Ten don't want them, and the SEC's not going to get them either. So I think we just stay pat at 12, and I think everything's going to be all right.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. I love the call from Carolina.
I do think it's very smart to be aware of what else could still potentially happen that has not happened yet in your planning stages. And given that there was the rumor just a few weeks ago about, before the alliance became a thing, there was legitimate, some legitimate smoke out there on, USC and what a little jaunt over to the Big Ten look like with us and Oregon and UCLA and maybe one other school who I forget, Washington. That was in play, reading the tea leaves a few weeks ago, and then the alliance happened. So these granted rights are going to run out in, 10 years, 12 years, or whatever. So I'm with you on not like pushing it to the envelope to where if there does become an opportunity available, like you're saying, all of a sudden you're like, oh, crap, we don't have any room, or I'm sure you'd find room. But I wouldn't rule out Clemson going to the SEC one day or Florida State or someone like that. I mean, the AAU thing really applies to the Big Ten and the Pac-12 pretty much alone. But yeah, if the Pac-12 were to do enough, I guess the alliance kind of settles it down. Before that, there's definitely some merit to thinking you could maybe poach some teams earlier than expected. But I think that has settled it down. But who knows, man? It's realignment. It's constantly shifting.
Corey, my dude, there's a text. He goes, Vegas has legal. Oh, I don't know if I should go here. Hold on just a second. An easy killer. No one is telling Clemson or FSU no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with the SEC. I do not think would tell Clemson or FSU no. I don't think they would tell North Carolina no. Those would be teams that I would be very curious to see as that grant of rights starts to run out here. And what again? Is it like another decade?
Yeah,
almost 15 years, right?
Yeah.
So that's a ways away. But I mean, a lot of stuff can happen between now and then. And it's clear that not all the AAC schools are completely happy or content. It's clear the Pac-12 schools haven't always been happy and content. I think they're content now because they're in the circle.
They're alive.
They're in the circle and they're secure, and there's a big 12-foot tall fence around them. But all it takes is, just a little thing here and there to all of a sudden shake up everything. So yeah, I don't think expansion's over for the next 50 years by any means.
All right, one more call, and then we go to John Machota after the break. T-Rex, you're on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
Good Wednesday. Quick question in regards to some of the stuff that Max said. There's really one thing Max said, so I'm really appreciated that, Smokey, you asked him the question about why do we let Texas and OU vote, right? Obviously, that's a lawyer question whatever, something that really he can't answer, none of us can. But I don't recall completely, but I believe I saw that in order to add teams, the Big 12 required a unanimous vote. And if that is true, what is preventing Texas and OU from just giving us a middle finger until the day they leave and just keep voting no to every expansion? Now, obviously, if their vote doesn't matter, then who cares?
That's an easy answer. If they allow the other schools in, then they can get out quicker. That's why.
Well, but also, and I could be shot down with this, there are ways the Big 12, by the way their bylaws are written, can have votes and they can exclude members.
Yeah,
they don't want to start a fight right now. Neither side does, although we think that one side probably thought they started the fight, it would end quickly, everyone else would bolt everywhere. But honestly, right now, both are just kind of in a wait-and-see pattern. Like a plane that's supposed to approach the airport or whatever, the flight line, and they're kind of, because of some lightning, they're just kind of right now. They're just kind of having to take their time. It's coming. Texas and OU will leave. The Big 12 will survive. They'll add their teams, and both in the end will probably be pretty happy.
I know we have to go, but if you wanted to do that, well, then the Big 12 just says, all right, you're paying every single cent of these $80 million that you owe us, and we're going to punish you as much as we possibly can until you actually contractually are able to leave. And that's the next 4 years. So they could try and pull a bully move, but they don't really have the leverage to be able to do that without receiving some of it back. So I hope that answers your question, T-Rex. Also, I'm blanking on his first name. Is it Mike Oresco, AAC commissioner? Ross Dellinger's got a quote from him on Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. He says, our remaining schools have competed extremely well with the schools leaving. The schools leaving have had success, but they're not dynasties. We'll add schools and we'll replenish and reconstitute.
I don't understand, Ryan. This is about what we were talking about, who gets a vote or not. And Craig, thank you for that note. Smokey, it's a unanimous vote of disinterested directors. UT and OU presidents are no longer disinterested directors.
What?
What am I missing there?
Say it again.
Yeah,
this is from Ryan.
The word disinterested is throwing me here.
Smokey, it is a unanimous vote of disinterested directors. UT and OU presidents are no longer disinterested directors.
Well, they're not interested in the future. I mean,
they don't care about
they don't care about the future. So they can recuse themselves from the vote.
Okay, then maybe not even have to be a part of the vote. I still think that there's a chance the 8 teams could vote, and no matter. But I know this. Bob Bowlesby wants whatever they do next. We can say whatever we want about how we got to this point. Bob Bowlesby has been preaching from day one. Take shots at him, and some of them are very well earned, that this will be unanimous, and otherwise they won't move forward with anything else along the way, which is in the Big 12 kind of different. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI. I was going to get an MRI sometime here pretty soon, just a couple of things. And I called Rob Maxey, Dr. Maxey. He's one of the partners. He's the one that contacted me from the beginning when we launched this show in April of 2020. And I called him because I can say, hey, I got to ask you a question or two. I then get a call from Al LeBlanc at Ideal MRI. Located in the Central Texas marketplace, they got the massive state-of-the-art technology of the MRI machine. Texan specialists, state-of-the-art. Texan specialists are the best you can get. And then doctors to read whatever the MRI spits out. And then within about an hour after I called Dr. Rob Maxey, I got a call from Al LeBlanc. And now it's just a matter of me picking out what day I can go and get an MRI. That's how they work. And it's not like you have to wait while you got a doctor's appointment. You can't get there for another 3 or 4 weeks or a month or two. And that's part of the system. Ideal MRI is going to get you in to get your MRI. If you need it, they're going to get it to you. And here's the best part. They're going to save you money. Ideal MRI can save you hundreds of dollars. The largest fee you're going to pay is $497 or less. The average is $1,100 each time. The average is $1,100, so it could be $500 or $2,500. $497 or less at idealmri.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Not only will you find an award-winning dealer at Allen Samuels, but you'll also find some great award-winning products. The 2021 Ram brand was ranked the #1 automotive brand on J.D. Power's initial quality study. The 2021 Dodge brand ranked #2 behind Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator named highest quality midsize truck. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco, where we deliver quality.
Come by, let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Gets it into the hands of C.D. Lamb, and he takes it in for another Cowboys touchdown, and an exclamation point.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments, with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
A little bit later on, I can clear up what Ryan said to us about disinterested parties and all that. He gave me some feedback on that. So did Mr. Grace. And I even got from the 956 a legal way of letting me understand. We're now joined by John Machota. TheAthletic.com covers the Cowboys. My gosh, tomorrow night, in just over 24 hours, the season begins. Seems like it has been going on forever without football, but it starts. John, so what's the first thing you got to see? Dak, what he does, I feel like he's going to be fine. I know there's been a lot of hand-wringing, but how he does, how he moves, how he throws?
I think that's number one for sure. Just his overall health. 17-game season. If they lose this game, I don't think anybody should really be, alarmed or anything, but if you were to watch them, and Dak looks extremely rusty. He struggles, has one of the worst games you've ever seen him have. That would be all reasons to be a little alarmed. So, for the Cowboys, number one is certainly all eyes on Dak and his health. And then for me, I think the second thing is really just, is the defense even to the level where it can just get some consistent stops and look like they're all on the same page. If that happens against this loaded Tampa Bay offense, and I think that you got to feel good about where you are coming out of the first game. But Dak's definitely number one.
How many eyes will be on Osa Odigizua and Carlos Watkins, which is right now the weakest position on the Cowboys?
For sure, and that's, I don't even think there's a question about that. So it makes you think, just from stuff I was able to see at training camp, and then some of the practices back at the Star, and even some of the preseason games. How does that make Dan Quinn adjust using Micah Parsons? Micah Parsons is a guy that Dan Quinn has been lining up over the center, and sometimes brings him, sometimes he drops back. And obviously Tampa has a really good offensive line, and they have the greatest quarterback ever, who is going to be very aware of number 11. And I expect Tom Brady to play games with Micah Parsons, and I think that that's going to be kind of interesting to watch early on, because you're right that the defensive tackle position, it wouldn't be a team strength with Neville Gallimore and Tristan Hill. It just wouldn't. It would be solid, and you'd feel like, hey, we're pretty good up the middle, but you wouldn't sit there and say, oh yeah, that position's all locked up. You still don't have a guy there that, other teams really, really have to worry about. Now, maybe Osa turns into that. We saw signs last year. It looked like Neville could do that when Tristan Hill, before he got hurt in that Week 5 game, same as Dak, and he tore up his ACL before that. He was kind of showing some signs but we don't know for sure if they have a guy like that. And since they don't, then maybe that means they have to dial up a little bit more Micah Parsons. And against a different quarterback, maybe that works. I just think this quarterback is going to be, he's going to be ready for everything, but he's going to be specifically ready for that. He's probably been watching a lot of tape of that for several weeks now.
John, what was maybe the opinion or, I don't know, thought that maybe changed the most pre-training camp and all the workouts to where we are now on the verge of the season?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see, what changed the most? It's tough because you want to sit there and say that you have answers about the defense because you see guys that bought in. They say the right things. It seems like Dan Quinn, not only what we got to see in training camp and preseason, but also some of the stuff in Hard Knocks and just the stuff you hear from players. You think that the defense has improved, but we really don't know. Like, you think it's better, frankly, because it can't be any worse, but we haven't even seen any preseason snaps with DeMarcus Lawrence. Randy Gregory, I think, had 11 defensive snaps in the preseason. So there's a lot of questions still there, but I do think that you feel better about it now than you did going into training camp. And obviously, like we just mentioned with Micah Parsons, he's a big part of that too, because he does seem like a Swiss Army knife type of guy who can do a variety of things that we just haven't seen a Dallas Cowboys defender, linebacker, whatever, do in a while. So I would say that would be the biggest difference, or the thing that you probably feel a little bit better about than you did going into training camp.
I'm not saying this to try to prove a point, but I just never, for whatever reason, caught Hard Knocks. John, you're a beat writer. You cover the team. You got to basically almost be a part of that thing. But I didn't. And the reason I didn't was maybe because I just didn't know when it ran, and I, in the past, probably would have. But one of the things I noticed is that maybe there wasn't a lot of drama. That doesn't mean there weren't some good storylines or whatever, but it was just maybe a football team going about their business. Doesn't mean there weren't human interest stories or fun and games. Isn't that good news for the Cowboys?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I when I watched that last episode last night, I thought a couple different times about in training camp when Mike McCarthy joked that he almost drove his truck off the road when Jerry told him that they were going to be doing Hard Knocks on top of everything else that they had been going through in the off season, and obviously starting the schedule with defending Super Bowl champs. He was probably like, he was like, I mean, what else are you going to put on my plate here? So I will say that the Cowboys having a say in the editing process probably impacted that. There might have been some good things behind the scenes that had to be edited out that we didn't get to see, some confrontational things or whatnot. But as a whole, if you're Mike McCarthy, you have to look at it as, this is a win considering all the negative stuff that could potentially come out of a Hard Knocks. I can tell you right now, and I'm pretty sure we talked about it on this show before Hard Knocks even started their first episode or even started filming. I remember talking about how we thought Jalen Smith would be a big part of it. Jalen Smith is not in any of those 5 episodes. So it is interesting that they did keep the drama down. And while that's not good for TV viewers, that's something that Mike McCarthy obviously loves because he didn't want to, have any distractions. And I will say the closest one that if you didn't want to go back and watch all 5 and you just want to watch the one that might have the closest to that, I would say it'd be the first episode. It was by far my favorite. There was a moment there where Mike McCarthy's talking to Stephen Jones about, Zeke's workload and what it's been for his career and how he's in better shape than he was last year. And then you had Dak kind of going back and forth with Mike McCarthy and some of the other coaches about holding him out. And then he kind of even snapped a little bit at Garrett Gilbert, telling him that he never wanted him to take the reps. He wants to be in there all the time. And I thought we were going to see more and more of that. And each episode that went on, there was just less and less of that. And it was more of the kind of the feel good behind the scenes stories about Isaac Alarcon and Azur Kamara. So yeah, from a Cowboys standpoint, like especially the coaching staff, they're probably thrilled with the finished product there.
I would think that maybe the producers on Jalen Smith are like, I just can't with this guy.
Paul, I think that possibly we can say that because you cover the team, you're around it, you talk about it all the time. But from what I gather from just the people I talk to, that's not really that crew. There's several people that were on that crew, on that Hard Knock crew, that were also on the All or Nothing crew that covered the Cowboys a few years back. And so, because one of the things I heard was that they were talking about how when they were out at the Star, how they hadn't been out there since 2017 when they were doing All or Nothing, and they just couldn't believe how much Frisco has just grown around the Star, which and it obviously has. But I just don't think that they're. I don't know that Hard Knocks is, it's NFL Network or NFL Films, it's HBO. You think that it's going to be all about football, but I think they lean towards they want the good stories like that. Where All or Nothing, it seems like it's a little bit more of football because they cover you for an entire season. I think Hard Knocks really likes those, having Trayvon Diggs' son there, Azur Kamara, Isaac Alarcon, where if you follow the team, maybe that might not interest you, but I think that's kind of their goal.
John, thank you. Appreciate that. Paul, they open up, man. It's time to go. John Machota, theathletic.com.
Is John still there?
Yeah.
John, what did you think about that FSU performance the other night? That was a good game, and Paul was excited about it. Not the result, obviously, that Noles fans wanted, but it seemed like it was, like the late 90s or early 2000s again versus the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And that game in particular is pretty big in my family because I'm a diehard Florida State fan. My brother is a diehard Notre Dame fan. We've been to several Florida State Notre Dame games together. So we actually flew down to Dallas and we watched the game together. And my biggest takeaway was I was like, well, when it's all said and done, this is probably the best outcome for both of us to not be too upset with the other one because it's not like Florida State is competing for some national title. You just want to see some hope. To tie it in with the Cowboys, like when I watch Florida State now, it's like these last 5 years, I compare it to the Cowboys defense, where it's like, it's not even about the numbers. It's not even about the wins. It's just when I watch it, I'll know that it's improved. Mm-hmm. Like our guys committing stupid penalties, our guys all bought in. Are they all on the same page? When things go wrong, do they continue to fight and come back from adversity? I saw that from Florida State against Notre Dame, and that's a positive sign. I'm wondering if we're going to see that on Thursday with this Cowboys defense because there's obviously going to be adversity. This team is loaded. This Bucs team is loaded from top to bottom. There's no way that even if the Cowboys play a perfect game, that they're blowing out the Bucs. There's going to be problems. There's going to be blown assignments on defense. How do they respond to that? Do they look like they're more on the same page, or do they look like the same defense that we saw last year under Mike Nolan?
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time. John Machota, theathletic.com with us. A lot of great writers that back when Bruce Feldman and Stuart Mandel and company started that, and they, again, do a great job. A lot of our guests come from theathletic.com for various reasons. Couple of notes in golf. The Ryder Cup team has been selected. A little note from Steve Stricker on Tiger, and we'll get to that among some other things as well. To your calls, to your text, to your phone calls, text, and also the chat room blowing up. What I love about the chat room, do you guys ever watch it? Like, I know that it kind of comes at you fast. It can turn on whoever's going at each other about, like, for example, Iowa State, Iowa. And then next thing you know, it's UCF fans against Boise State fans, and they just played each other. I love it because it's a mixture. It's like a gumbo or jambalaya of whatever you want. It's a Creole, a stew.
I am so curious to know how. Well, I guess it would be the same as asking, West Virginia sort of, or TCU a few years ago. But this seems different, of what it must be like for UCF fans right now. I know Cincinnati's been P5 before, or, power conference, so it's not completely foreign territory to them. But, they still were then all of a sudden have not, right? And they've been trying to be one of the, one of the premier conferences, or however you want to refer to it. So, I wonder what that feeling's like today, or maybe the last couple days, and knowing like, hey, this is not just speculation anymore. This is not just, hey, la-da-da. there's official invitations going out. There's something by the end
involved.
of the week.
Yeah.
And look, UCF and Houston Houston, they're going to be in a power conference.
They have been they have been probably dissected more than maybe anybody else when it comes to expansion. They've been teased more than once. They sit in this big, huge city, but again, we've discussed kind of some of that. And that's what's going to be interesting. Once it all becomes official, there's good reasons. Why this team, why this team, why this team, why this team, and why not maybe somebody else? What are the pros and the cons? And we're going to get all that eventually, but it's happening.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that, but it's actually happening. So, if you're a UCF fan or a Houston fan, I can only imagine how over the moon you must be.
So let's hear from them, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Houston, Southern, Central, UCF. I remember one time I said Central Florida. I got hammered.
We had a Cincy fan with swagger earlier.
Yeah,
we were straight up saying they're going to win it.
Cincy, BYU, we've heard from all of you. 254-339-1122. How do you feel about the fact you're coming to the Big 12 or you're going to be a part of the party? You've been left out. You've had success, but now there's hope for you that you're a part of what will be a Power 5. And if you're a Big 12 fan that was a part of the remaining 8 and you felt like, damn, you got to be feeling pretty good, too. There's still work to be done, paperwork, legalities, and all of that, and negotiations. But I think you can say none of this would be out there if this wasn't going the right way.
3 months
Sick 'em
ago.
365 Radio, yeah.
3 months ago, we were not talking about Iowa State visiting UCF for a Big 12 conference game, but here the hell we are, so let's party.
Over 800 of you at one point listening to Mack Rhoades on just YouTube alone. We're at 10,900.
11,000.
He's crossed 11.
11,000 subscribers, and thank you. 254-339-1122. We appreciate you. This is Sick 'em 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Before I get into the fantastic products that they offer there, they are hiring. So look, if you are in the greater Waco area and looking for work, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, fantastic place to do it. The Chapmans are great people. You're going to work for a great company and with some great folks, and it's going to have good hours and all those different things. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. So go ahead, look them up, give them a call. They are hiring right now. They also have a great selection of high-end bourbons. Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. That last one is a distillery I'd really like to tour. If you're into high-end bourbons, they've got them there for you. If you're into craft beer, my gosh, they've got it for you. Great selection of wines, great selection of spirits, customer service to beat the band. You cannot get better customer service than Riverbend Liquor and Wine, and a speedy drive-through window that'll blow your mind. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me. Genco is my credit union. They're always there for me. They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Bird Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Bird Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Hey, there's a Baylor player, Tyrone Brown, the linebacker, who I had pretty high expectations. Haven't heard much about him. He announced that he is transferring or entering the transfer portal. And the question is, why would you do it now? Well, because you get a head start and you could sign with somebody and be on their campus by January. But I always thought he was going to be a pretty good player for them.
Yeah, they got 2 Tyrone Browns. Yeah.
Okay, you explained, yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying that there was always like they had to go by their middle initials or whatever. But now we'll just have Tyrone Brown on the Baylor roster. But, yeah, very odd timing. I mean, after the first game of the year, and I had a lot of people who were asking me, like, is this realignment related? And I told him, no, I don't know his particular situation. You know, we are still human beings, and not everything revolves around the major stories. So for a kid like him, or for a young man, I mean, it could be anything from the family needs him closer to home, or he just wants to be back in the city of Houston. I mean, it could be a variety of different. I mean, shoot, if he ends up at Houston, then maybe we could say that realignment played a role in this. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what's going on there. So it's a loss. He never quite materialized, obviously. Not playing out his full career, we're not going to see that. But, I don't know. Just very odd timing.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was as well. Paul, 254-339-1122, let me know. But here's a BYU fan. I'm excited about the new rivalries. Some of the great moments from our fan base came when we played Big 12 opponents and when TCU was a part of the Mountain West. They had some dagger games, man, which turned into great rivalry. The opportunity to join the Big 12 has been something that's been on our mind since 2016. Been keeping my finger on the pulse of all the new expansion. I stumbled across your radio show when Texas and Oklahoma news came out. I have become a daily listener via YouTube. I love all the work you guys are doing, and I hope the smoke is generally fire. And Brigham Young will join Baylor in the new Big 12. When Texas and Oklahoma moved to the SEC, I felt the Big 12 would be good if they could make it past the emotional body blows given the unexpected changes in realignment. Thanks for the text from the 801.
Absolutely. Thank you, 801.
Yeah, it looks like they have. I mean, that was the thing that you worry about with this conference is it's a very emotional group, but it was emotional. Sometimes, this is probably a bad analogy, but I'm going to use it anyway. Sometimes the dog is hyper because the owner is hyper.
Yeah.
You know, the dog is mellow when the owner is mellow. And not to say that Texas was the owner of the Big 12, but they were about as close as you could get. So, because Texas is a constant emotional roller coaster, and they are, constantly trying to impose their will, that trickles down and the rest of the league can get high strung. Well, you take them out of the equation and you sit and you have meetings without Texas and Oklahoma imposing their will and everybody saying, this is what is best for us as a group, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one right now, then you can not be emotional because the drama queens are gone.
Well, it's a difference between a team that could be pretty good, but they got a couple of, and OU and Texas fans, I'm not taking this as like a shot or mean it personally, but just the analogy that I'll use. You got a couple of prima donnas or players that think they're better than the pieces around them, right? You don't have a team. You got a couple of really good players, but you don't really have a good team. And I think, now they're losing a couple of 5-star players, no doubt about it. But I think there's more of a team that is there now. And that's going to take that conference farther than just bowing down to the mercy of your star receiver and your star quarterback every time, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. And that's, you're right, Texas and Oklahoma are who they are, and they know it, and that's fine.
And look, man, they're going to the SEC. They're going to be just fine. As far as money and all that, they're going to be just fine.
What I have seen is that, for the most part, these last 2 to 3 or 4 weeks has been more about who might be a part of the Big 12 or what happens with the Big 12. But we have some great Texas and Oklahoma fans that have been a part of the show, have been a part of the chat room or whatever else. But I did notice this, and I thought this was kind of intriguing, and I know I'll be taken wrong when I say this. It's like everyone's kind of moved on. And then every once in a while they want to come in and go, hey,
we're still leaving, guys.
We're leaving.
Yeah.
And it's yes, and you are, and you should, and go. And
look, any team in the Big 12.
By the way, we're leaving. We know that.
Yeah.
It's not hating Texas and Oklahoma. I get that. That's such a silly.
No, it's just
you're no longer a part of the conversation because you get what you want. Now somebody else is trying to get what they want.
It's like a breakup. You don't sit there and dwell on it and keep looking backwards. You start looking at other people and moving forward. And so, Texas and Oklahoma broke up with the Big 12. It was very ugly and out of nowhere. Those are the worst kind of breakups when you think everything's just cool and then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere. So that's how the Big 12 felt. I mean, they were rocked by that. But to their credit, rather than wallow and sit in the dark room and, listen to sad music for 2 months or something, they said, you know what? Get back on my feet and get up and put my bootstraps on and get to work and do the best that I can. And they went and pretty soon found a few others that looked pretty good.
Yeah, they had their moment where they put on Air Supply and cried a little bit, and then
smoked a couple of doobies,
had gotten a warm bath with a glass of wine and had a good cry, and then they said, all right, let's
dark room.
Let's go get on Bumble and meet the love of our life.
Yeah, and then they even went on Bumble and they got people said no, and but that's
by the way,
okay.
Bumble available for sponsorships.
The Ryder Cup, U.S. Ryder Cup team was announced today by Captain Steve Stricker. Automatic qualifiers, and he had an incredible year. Patrick Cantlay, Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, and Justin Thomas. Those all made it based on points and whatever else. The captains picked 6 of them. Daniel Berger, so 2 FSU guys, Paul. Harris English, who had a really nice run. Xander Schauffele, Jordan Spieth, who really kind of came back this year, and then he cooled off a little bit, but he was always a part of the mix. Tony Finau, who had a great year, and Scotty Scheffler, that's a former UT guy, along with Jordan Spieth. Patrick Reed left off. He had a sickness, he had pneumonia, whatever it was. He was really out for most of August. He came back, played pretty well in the Tour Championship, but he's a guy that has an incredible Ryder Cup record, but he did not make the team, and Stricker mentioned that it was a hard decision to make. He also said this today, that he's been talking to Tiger Woods. He's part of this Ryder Cup family. He won't be able to be a captain's assistant. Ongoing rehabilitation, trying to get better, and trying to play golf again. And that is going well. He's progressing. He's doing well. Things are moving in the right direction. He kind of hinted, and don't get my hopes up here, but he kind of hinted that I thought Tiger may not walk again, much less anything. We'll see what happens to him. It's still going to be a long way out. But just the fact that he's recovering, rehabbing, and moving forward is great news to me.
If he wins another tournament again, much less a major.
Okay, why do you I don't have that emotion in me right now.
A greater story than coming back after all that time.
Remember the day you and I had that awkward hug in a hotel room? We did. It was at Bay Hill. They won. We were in Atlanta, and he won it.
Would him coming back and just winning a tournament top him coming back and winning the Masters?
Be right up there with it, because
I would say
because he did that already, right? Yeah, that's
because he won big even after all the struggles personally and whatever, and then he had the back surgeries and all that. Then he win the Masters. I still have that on DVR. But if he even plays, makes the cut, wins a tournament, oh my God! After that wreck that pretty much almost lost both of his legs and could have broken his back and everything else.
Drive safe, folks. Don't speed. But I do want to mention a couple comments from Mike Oresco, because Ross Dellinger's put out a piece, and he actually mentions potential realignment candidates for the American Athletic Conference. So you thought that this is all just about the Big 12. Well, no, there's obviously going to be a domino effect. Obviously, the SEC started the dominoes. The Big 12 is the next to hit the next few over, and so now the AAC is obviously going to have to do something. But Mike Oresco said in regards to the teams leaving, the DNA in this league isn't going to change. Our remaining schools have competed extremely well with the schools leaving. The schools leaving have had success, but they're not dynasties. We'll add schools and replenish and reconstitute. And that was a quote I had read a little bit earlier. But he also went on to say, they said we couldn't officially be a Power 6 at the time, but now what's happening? Those teams are supporting the Big 12. It's interesting irony. This demonstrates our success without question. So then he went on to be asked about who would be potential new members. And he did not mention anybody by name, but Dellinger threw out some candidates. He said that the top option is likely to start with UAB, which makes a lot of sense, that Birmingham market. And he also went on to mention teams like Air Force, Army, Colorado State, Boise State, North Texas, Charlotte, Coastal Carolina, and Arkansas State. So those were some of the teams that he mentioned as possibly being American teams in the future.
So now the Sun Belt and the
screwed.
The WAC.
How about Coastal Carolina? Did they mention?
That was the last. It's the next to last one that I mentioned.
What I'm surprised they haven't said is Liberty.
No, that's
maybe
a
just
team
because they're so new to the FBS, but still
they got a boatload of money. They got, I know a lot of online students, but still a very large student population, and they're they're kind of getting away from what was like sort of the shadowy figure above them that was kind of made them a little weird to root for too much. What was that, Falwell? And
the other Falwell.
Jerry Jr. is who I'm talking about, most recently. So they've moved on or moving away from that, which I think has been to their benefit. But one thing that Ross mentioned in his article, he said the last 4 teams to leave the AAC were the top 4 group of 5 public schools in athletic department revenue, according to figures from USA Today. So, I mean, they're bringing in some pretty good teams as far as what was left available. UConn had topped that list previously. There were 51 Power 5 programs with $80.9 million in revenue in 2018-19. So after UConn, it was Houston, UCF, Cincinnati. And so that tells you why they were that money part of it, that they were the next in line, so to speak. And UConn's already been there, done that, so you weren't going to invite them back into the party because their situation, even right now, since they've left the American, is awful with what's going on at their football programs in terms of lack of success. Coach leaving now in the middle of the season after 2 games. So, I mean, they went out and got the best candidates, basically, and we'll see what the American does, but that's an interesting list of candidates for them as well.
Juan M. on the chat, UH alum here. I can't wait for us to start playing in the Big 12. Exciting times for years. I was on campus during the Case Keenum years as well.
I think it's going to be, I was not, obviously I was not on board with Houston from the very get-go as one of the top 2 teams to bring in. But when you start talking 4, okay, now I'm more open to that, and it makes a lot more sense. Had it been 2 and they just said, hey, we're adding Houston and BYU, I would not be feeling nearly as good today. But the fact that it's 4 and Houston's included in that, I'm down with that. And I think that you're already going to start getting a little bit of excitement, like Baylor, Houston. And it matters. It's not just a non-conference game that Baylor needs to win for recruiting purposes or just to, have the Big 12 swagger, or that Houston wants to, prove that they belong. Now it's just straight up conference game. And that'll be cool. And I think Houston versus Tech, Houston versus Baylor, Houston versus TCU, that will be a good thing in the long run.
And I do think, while it does kind of hurt the overall recruiting of it helps Houston's recruiting get to a level, but maybe it stops at a level that they could get to if again, when you got 4, there's only so many Power 5 players to go around.
Yeah.
But maybe it does put a little bit of a damper on Texas and Texas A&M, just a little bit.
Just to lose a couple players here and there.
Just a little bit to maybe you can keep them in the Big 12 instead of going to the SEC. It would not be anything major, obviously. But look, if you can get a couple bee stings, they can help you sometimes.
You can get Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
And they got him, and he turned down UT, A&M, Oklahoma, Baylor, everybody to go to Houston, even though they were not in a power conference. Now they are. So now get a couple Ed Olivers, you hope so at least. And maybe Houston players won't be as hesitant to take that plunge, knowing now that, hey, there's an opportunity to still play a lot of teams. Now, look, losing Texas and Oklahoma, that's going to be a sting, not just in the revenue and stuff we're talking about, but for recruits. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They want to be able to go to Baylor or TCU and play Oklahoma and Texas every year. And now all of a sudden that's going to be off the table in the next year to 4 years. So I do think that will hurt, but having Houston there to potentially grab the Ed Oliver every once in a while and be in a better position to do that maybe more often will be good for the Big 12.
All right. What do you want to keep going, Paul, or we take a break and then come back? We got
about 4 more minutes.
I didn't have a chance. Please help me if I'm wrong here. Florida Atlantic quarterback N'Kosi Perry has signed what is believed to be the first ever NIL deal with a beer liquor organization for a college athlete, agreement with Isla Morada Beer Company.
Isla Morada.
Same thing.
Isla Morada.
I wouldn't even get Murata off that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Isla I can see that. Machota, okay.
Just roll with
There's
it.
a couple of letters missing.
Just roll with it.
Like Favre.
But is this
Favre?
He signed.
I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know. I don't know. Like I haven't dipped into all the.
If there's no rule against them supporting,
Well, he's got to be 21, right?
Yeah, he's definitely
obviously.
21. I think he's a grad transfer.
Yeah, he's been
to
around.
FAU from Miami. But yeah, I've never had Isla Machota beer. I'm sure it's good. Isla Machota is a really cool place, just in the Keys. If you've never been there, go to Isla Machota. It's pretty damn awesome. But I think that this is probably going to happen more and more. Look, if I'm a local craft brewery and you want to get some attention in your local area, like why not because you're a local craft brewery in the east coast of Florida, you're not going to get Tua Tagovailoa to be your guy or Jimmy Butler. Like that's not going to happen because you don't have that kind of money. But you can get somebody from FAU, that people know. You can get somebody from the U. I mean, yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could be with alcohol, but I also now remember that is something that Mack Rhoades shot down for Baylor athletes because of the university that Baylor is. So, yeah, I guess you are free to do it. It's just that some will choose not to be a part of that, obviously. And Florida Atlantic's like, what the hell? Go ahead. Go for it. So that's cool for him. Cool for N'Kosi Perry to have that opportunity and to be a first in the NIL category.
Wonder what the payment is, cash or beer?
Yeah,
probably a little bit of both.
Yeah. All right.
Couple suitcases every week.
We mentioned Mark Vidal, Seattle. You went out and tried out for them, and he was cut. And then I get confused on the timeline. But Pete Carroll loves the guy. But I just had a sponsor who would know because he's done some business with Mark Vidal tell me he might now be a part of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm throwing it out there. I can't see that anywhere on the transaction wire, but I do know that the person who sent that to me would not just throw something out there for me. Armstrong, do you have the quotes from Pete Carroll on Mark Vidal? Go ahead, Craig.
I can tell you this. He was released by the Seahawks from their practice squad. That was the last that I had seen. That was like a couple of days after they made the announcement. I was so bummed for Mark because it was like, hey, this is a cool deal. You're moving from basketball to football. And then 2 days later, you're basically being released. So I have not seen anything on the Chiefs or Mark Vidal signing there. But I will say he did get on Twitter last night, and he let it be known that he's sticking with football. So I don't know if that's because he's got a new opportunity or if that's just what he's doing, period. But Mark said last night, he said, I'm here to stay. Football is my new life, God's plan, all of that, and mentioned he's got some news coming, but he's definitely sticking with football.
Yeah, and if the Seahawks released him that early before he'd really even gotten some traction, it to me, because of the way that the practice squads work now, where you can keep two guys from the practice squad up on game days to help with COVID issues, it leads me to believe that there's a position that has been hit by COVID. The Seahawks need to fill that position so that they have guys ready on Sunday, and they just haven't said it yet, or they don't have to because maybe the guys, could be close to testing out, but they need to prepare for the fact that they couldn't test out of it, which is 2 negative tests within 24 hours of each other. So, for example, Zach Martin didn't have enough time to test out of COVID protocols this week. They thought that maybe he could have, but he didn't have enough time because, tested positive on Sunday, and here he is, again, after it's Thursday tomorrow, and he probably wouldn't be able to do that. So I think there's a 72-hour, hold, whatever it is. But that's probably what that happened to Mark Vidal, because you don't sign a guy to a practice squad knowing that he's not going to play for your team right away as a developmental guy and then release him that quick if you don't have a pressing issue.
Okay. All right. Well, I know the guy who texted me would did you find it, Armstrong, by any chance, the text? All right. This is a string of threads from somebody that covers Seattle on Mark Vidal. Basically, the first one, he's really his competitiveness, talent athletically, extremely ferocious competitor. Go down to the next one. How about this? Hand-eye stuff is excellent. Catching range, excellent. Million things to learn, but we thought we'd take a shot, see how it goes. He's able to pick it up. He's going to have to pick things up quickly. Otherwise, he won't catch up. We give him the benefit of the doubt right now. He's as new as you can get. I probably should call that 8th grade coach and check out, see what he... That means that's the last time he played football. And then at the end, he's a very special athlete and talent. Let's see if he can make sense of it. So I don't know if he's still with Seattle. As of now, it appears as if he's not, but maybe Kansas City. But that's coming from a guy in Pete Carroll who's got a pretty good track record, Seattle Seahawks, are they a team that would you be surprised if they...
Mark Vital's not a big enough name to sign just for kicks and giggles, you know. I mean, they signed him because they thought there's something there.
Yeah, that's what the practice squad is
positive.
for.
We'll see what happens. Obviously, the rosters need to settle down. Like, there's so many moving parts to these NFL rosters now, and like what list guys are on and who all's on this or that, and so we'll see when the dust settles and with the season starting up where he lands. But he's going to keep playing football.
Someone said that just give it some time. And what's the name of that beer?
Isla Morada.
Is it a city?
It's a key.
Okay, they won't be there soon.
Because Rising Oceans.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, it's 5:50. Paul Catalina's top 5 coming up around the corner. I think Brazos Parking, Saturday. Want to make sure you remember. Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, and Maceo Teague will be there from 3:30 to 5 prior to the Baylor Texas Southern game. Brazos Parking right across from McLean Stadium on MLK, less than a mile basically, about a mile from where we are. Unique opportunity. Come out, get a picture or selfies, no autographs, but pictures with these 3 national championship stars. Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, Maceo Teague. Butler and Teague are a part of the Utah Jazz, correct? And, of course, Davion Mitchell, the Sacramento Kings, who was the Summer League co-MVP. That's 3:30 to 5, Brazos Parking on MLK before Texas Southern and Baylor. Back in a moment. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Man, I tell you what, they got some great news. They have some amazing news when it comes to J.D. Power and Associates, great award-winning products. 2021 Ram brand ranked #1 automotive brand on J.D. Power's initial quality study. 2021 Dodge brand ranked #2 behind Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator named highest quality mid-size truck. All of this by J.D. Powers and Associates. Alan Samuels on Loop 340 on east of 84 in Waco. Also the Power Days coming up. Right now, they still continue. Even the Labor Day sales event that's going on. They have vehicles, SUVs, trucks. Of course, they have the Ram. Back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year on the lot. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by. Let's be friends.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. And you have this umbrella. We mentioned the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, but you serve more than just like home insurance, or you have all sorts of different levels of different things you cover.
Yeah.
How much does that help?
You know, I talked to a guy today. He has, Allstate on his car, Progressive boat, and, Farmers on his home. So I said, why don't you, do you know your agents? No, I just call the 800 number. Why don't you just let me quote that and we can have it all here. Makes it a lot less complicated for you. He really liked that. So we have auto, home, life, several different brokerage options, classic cars. Got to ride in a 1978 Ferrari one time.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
Top 5 hot seats after week 1. We'll do this. We're not going to do this every week. We'll do maybe monthly hot seat check-ins. But this is overreaction week.
No question.
So I thought, and these
Wait
are...
till after the first week of the NFL.
These are varying degrees of heat. So some of these guys, there's already heat, but it's the same degree as hot. So while they might be maybe higher on some people's lists, but I said the heat went from what it was to a higher degree for each of these guys as we go up the list. So
like hot ones?
Yeah, exactly.
They start off with the smaller heat and they get to the... just blow your mouth off.
Yeah, one of the great YouTube shows you need to watch. It's excellent interviews and hilarious to watch celebrities like
suffer
more than they can chew.
Yeah, suffer.
Yeah. Number 5, Scott Frost in Nebraska. His seat's going to remain hot until they knock people back.
Well, there's a chance they lose to Buffalo this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, there's not a guaranteed win against Buffalo.
And then they get to go play in Norman. And that might be 80-20, although Oklahoma's defense might give up 27, but they'll still score 75.
Yeah, they'll give up 27 in the third quarter when they can't run the ball with a lead, and then they'll make it a closer game than it appeared. That's what happened last week. Yeah. But,
all right,
I mean, Scott Frost's seat is torching right now, I would imagine, in Lincoln.
It's a good-looking picture of him. I didn't realize he's on fire.
Yeah. Clearly neither is he in that picture.
Yeah.
Number 4, Doug Martin at New Mexico State. New Mexico State just continues to get worse and worse. And look, I know this is far from a Power 5 team, but this is a team that's been trying to get good again through like 3 coaches in a row.
Hey, remember Larry Rose III, running back out of Fairfield High School, had a great run there.
Yeah, they actually had some success with him. But yeah, Larry Rose is long in the past now at this point. He's been gone for 3 or 4 years, but when he was there, they were actually making a little bit of noise if you paid attention to football outside of just like the Power 5s, for sure.
And also, this is not a show where we just pay attention to the Power 5.
Yeah.
We're all-inclusive when it comes here. Number 3, Steve Adazio at Colorado State. They do not seem to be making any kind of progress. And Adazio's been a couple places, Temple, Boston College, and now Colorado State. And he might be best suited, and he's from the Urban Meyer tree, and, everybody loves him because of that. But I think that he might be best suited to be what he is, an elite offensive line coach or coordinator.
Yeah, Colorado State, a team that a lot of people thought was going to be in the mix for the Big 12 potentially. Maybe they still are down the road. But, it's not going to help if you got a football program.
AAC candidate, current
AAC
candidate,
now they
Colorado
would be,
State.
Yeah, now a bit of a AAC candidate. Yeah.
Number 2, Ed Orgeron at LSU. And, look, this could turn around really quickly for LSU, and Ed Orgeron. But right now, he is, I keep saying it, he is in that Gene Chizik territory of –
National championship
to look, it all fell apart. And
who else did that? I mean, there's been some that have won national title, like Mack Brown,
Gus
but it was
Malzahn
05, and he
didn't win, but he got there and lost in the last second. So
and he had success against Alabama.
Yeah, but it's the SEC. There's no
No.
Yeah, it was funny. There's a video from Vikings linebacker Eric Kendricks, and he is a UCLA guy, and so he put out a little TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but thankfully people who do post good stuff on the Twitter because I'll never see it otherwise, but he was going around the Vikings locker room to the 3 LSU players. It was Justin Jefferson, it was Patrick Peterson, and there was one more, Daniil Hunter. And he just walked up real sly and just had this UCLA ball cap, and to see their reactions as they turn, because like Patrick Peterson, he walks up to and like, hey, what's up, man? And Peterson turns around like to grab something and then realizes it's the UCLA hat and just dips his head. It was great. But yeah, Orgeron, a lot of LSU alums, Tyrann Mathieu, a bunch of them sounding off this past weekend. He's definitely on the hot seat down in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, when you get the alums, the prominent ones.
Well, and they got to wonder too, like that whole magical run, that was great. Ed Orgeron's forever enshrined in LSU lore because of that. But you can't say it was all him. It was very clearly Joe Burrow. It was very clearly Brady. It was very clearly,
Dave Aranda.
Yeah, Dave Aranda, freaking, of course, right? So, yeah, there was a lot of pieces in play that were not just Ed O. He was just like the spokesperson, basically.
Would you take what LSU has done?
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Of course.
I mean, take it at him.
Give me that season from 2 years ago,
that's
and I'll
all
be
I
happy.
need. Elizabeth, take me now, but just one more of that.
But that's
run.
not the realistic thing down there. I mean, they're not stopping with that last one.
Just a matter of perspective.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right. And number 1, Scott Satterfield at Louisville. Looked outside of Louisville before the season was, after last season at South Carolina. Louisville's a team that's been burned. Bobby Petrino burned them hard before, and that's not a fan base that if you're going to look at another job, you better get the damn thing, honestly, because they are not going to take it well. They're not going to understand. There's no explaining your way out of it. There's no, I just had to look, even though that's fair for Scott Satterfield. You want to look at another job that you maybe thought was better than the one you had because it wasn't open? That's fair. Everybody does that in life, but most of us don't have to turn around and explain it to a massive fan base why you did that. And Scott Satterfield is going to be in this heat unless he gets Malik Cunningham, who's a really good athletic quarterback, going. But that team got their asses handed to them by Ole Miss the other night.
Why do you have to say bad language?
Because that's what happened.
Oh, they did get their asses handed.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, I've never used that on this show.
Yeah. But they did, though.
Not late in the last 24 hours.
I don't think it's a phrase you throw around loosely, but in that case, it's absolutely 100% correct. And yeah, Louisville is not the Louisville that we've been accustomed to the last few years. I mean, he's barely above 500. And you're right, Paul. I mean, that gamble on his part. Remember Fuentes during the Baylor job being open? He there was that thing with Baylor for like 2 seconds, but he very quickly then was like, I'm pulling my name out, and everything settled down. Because there was actually some Virginia Tech fans who were like, oh, really? You're even flirting with the job. And so he shut that down immediately. Satterfield did not, and yeah, that's going to hang over you for good.
Yeah, that's interesting. And there's a few on the chat room talking about it. Man, it seems like the LSU championship was an ancient history. One quick note from is that it, Paul?
Yep.
Great list as always. Jeremy Land, as a Sooner fan, I would like to play these new schools coming into the conference, but I will say that after they accept, I have a hard feeling that the Oklahoma and Texas will be out of the Big 12 at the end of this season. Of course, that timeline. If you miss Mack Rhoades, he was very, very careful. Very, very careful about what he could say and what he could not say. Eventually, we got into opinions, maybe even hypotheticals in some ways, or scenarios. But that is up on our site and available to you.
And, I mean, timeline says he should be able to tell us a lot more sooner rather than later. I mean, he's not going to give us every dirty detail, but we'll definitely be able to get a little bit more out of him. Specifics, I would think, here in the next week or two.
All right. Thank you to everybody that's been a part of the chat room. My God, some of you, we can't even get to it all. The text line, I try to, again, every night, just for a second, I get on there and try to return 3 to 5 of them. I can't do all of them, but I will try. And then we're back at it again tomorrow. Thanks to Mack Rhoades. Thanks to John Machota. Thanks to Wally Hall, who covers Arkansas, and Spencer Drango, former Baylor All-American, for being in the studio today. For Hayden Bumpus, Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims, our sponsors, because it's all about trying to feed the animal. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for watching and listening. 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio.
MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.